Yeah, actually, we'll probably leave Kaiser outside for right now because if he'll either be very excited when he sees you guys, and then he'll go pout at that door because he'll be able to smell the food coming from downstairs. And then he will, if anybody tries to come upstairs, he will immediately try to go downstairs. And he's a corgi and has very short legs, and going downstairs is not his finest skill.
Well, he can go down though, just control.
He can do control down, but he tends to kind of freeze up after a couple of steps and be like, and so then he'll need somebody to pick up and carry him, and the only person he trusts to pick up and carry him is Z.
Because I wouldn't trust you either.
No, I wouldn't. No. Welcome to Preferred Enemies, the Warhammer 40k podcast that's done another year and another grand tournament. I'm your host, Rob.
Kevin.
Dennis.
And Richard.
Wow, I actually got everybody seated in the correct order, so we can just go counterclockwise. And yes, that means we are actually in person recording. I imagine the audio sounds a little different, although if you've listened to any of our past convention coverage, we're not in a giant hall right now.
Because if we tried to record in the gymnasium, you would not have been able to understand anything we said because of the reverb.
Yeah, the acoustics would have been terrible. So if you haven't gathered, this is our yearly recap of Midwest Conquest, the event which we originated and once ran and have since handed off the competitive play portion. But Dennis and Kevin, you still run the narrative.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I'd say, considering the difficulties in getting this year off the ground, everything seemed to go pretty well.
Yeah.
All told.
Yeah. Some difficulties, with the venue just because we've switched. So we were at a high school gymnasium in Raytown. So we didn't have hotels. We don't have the nice hotel amenities. We had to cancel Beer Hammer because it's a high school. We can't have alcohol, So it's one of those things where there were some challenges and some choices that had to be made, but it was the best venue for us on short notice. It had a lot of benefits as well.
Yeah.
There plenty of space, plenty of parking, things like that.
Yeah, parking was not a problem. And even though it was a single gym, and it was definitely smaller than the ballroom we were in last year, it still felt like there was place for all the tables, for all the events, with plenty of room to walk around the tables. Nobody had to do the end-to-end table thing.
And the interesting thing about the tables is, unlike the hotel tables or others, these were really long school tables. Yep. And once you got two of them together, people had lots of space on the sides to just set stuff down. Which I thought was nice.
The end cap space was there. We didn't have to put down boards because the tables were flat, we're all even. So there was a lot of benefits.
And I will say the Midwest Conquest GT crew cut a lot of wood in preparation for having to put down levelers on tables, and we only had to put one leveler on tables for the narrative because they just ran out of tables. Otherwise, they had to bring in one table.
Well,
we did end up putting a small piece over the middle because the way the four tables came together
for the big games.
There was a gap in the middle, and we're like, you could put your hand through it. And it's we're gonna put something underneath.
And it was right where the two mats touch. But also, they had more tables. We just, when we were setting up, didn't know where they were.
Yeah.
That's why we used one of Pat's and had to even it out. But they did add more tables later from the school.
Yeah.
So if we had patience, we would have been.
Yeah. And if we mentioned Pat, that is Pat Roberts from Peculiar Game and Hobby, who are one of the sponsors of Midwest Conquest, have been since the beginning, and have been fantastic. Pat's store also donated models for the raffle army this year. So they've been huge supporters, and we're super happy to have them on board and in our corner.
Since you mentioned it, do you want to start with the raffle army and just go through that and talk about the Necrons?
Yeah. So every year, if you've never listened to one of our Midwest Conquest episodes, we raffle off an army for charity. We build and paint a model, provide a storage case for travel. We've done everything from the very first year. We did orcs with Richard and I working on orcs. We've done Iron Hands, Horsehair Sierra Iron Hands. We've done, one year we had a combination Custodes and Mechanicus army. 1 year we had both Black Legion and Black Templars. Then I think that's when we had the break for COVID.
Yeah.
And then after that, we've done Dark Angels, Votann, Tyranids, Eldari, and then this year, Necrons. And so, basically in a couple of months, I managed to get to be fair, one of the models was the Shard of the Nightbringer, which Games Workshop provided that model to us when it came out to paint and put.
And that's that's one of the key things we do. Why we continue to do like the armies stuff like that. Any of those models that GW gives us, like for like samples like that, if we don't use, it usually goes towards the raffle army. So when we get stuff in the past, if it's not an army we play, it usually goes into that pile.
Right. Yeah.
So it doesn't get wasted.
Right. And so that model was already painted in advance, but that still left us with another 16 to 1800 points to put together. Yep. And fortunately, again, a lot of stuff was donated by the Heroic Morale crew down in Peculiar and by Peculiar Game and Hobby, and we ended up with a list of about 20. I tend to want to go for a list of about 2250, so that like you can make multiple lists out of it, pick options, not have to take everything. And that's about the most we could fit into the travel case too. Right. That was a challenge to get all the large models, because the Nightbringer is a very tall model.
Very tall.
And then we also had two Canoptic like Doomstalkers, which are also very tall models. So we managed to get it all in the travel case. Also, thanks to Tabletop Stronghold for providing the case and doing custom etching on it with laser etching with like Necron symbology on it. Looked fantastic. So and that was raffled off to raise money for
So this year it was raising money for Veterans Community Project, which is a Kansas City based veterans charity to help provide housing for homeless veterans. And then for the KU Cancer Med Hospital. Looking at the final numbers, I don't know if this is 100% correct, but what Pat sent me right before I came here is we made $658 this year in raffle tickets. So appreciate everybody who bought tickets and donated. We'll get the money sent over. My company usually matches the donations.
So we'll be able to give that to both groups.
We'll be able to give that to both groups. So yeah, so it's a thing that we always try to do, especially since it's Memorial Day weekend. We always try to do something that helps out, and they're both good local charities that have local impact.
The KU Cancer Center one is one that's very close to our hearts because we had a friend. When Midwest Conquest started back up in 2021, we had a friend, Tim, who was actually in the middle of recovering from chemo, going through chemo for a very rare cancer that I think something like a dozen people in the world.
He joked that he's like, when I will be in a medical book,
because it was
my case is rare
artisanal cancer. But KU Cancer Center saved his life.
Yes,
he's alive today. Yeah. He's the GM of my D&D group because they put in that work to discover how to properly treat that super rare cancer, which when they first got to him, they're like, you have a few months to live. Like they did not give him a good prognosis. Yeah. He's alive, 5 years later, and in full remission. And also, to another thing I want to illustrate how personal this is the person who won last year, won the Eldari army that I painted last year, wrote in a few months ago. And he said, "Hi guys, I'm the guy that won the Eldar army last year at Midwest Conquest. I was a little emotional as my dad had passed from cancer earlier in the year." So very personal to him. Mm-hmm. But he went on. "Little did I know that I would be faced with colon cancer stage 4B shortly after the con. I had surgery and had 11 inches of my colon, part of my liver, and several lymph nodes removed. I spent 16 days in the hospital and had 8 rounds of chemo.
Wow.
I was informed that I'm in complete remission last week and cried my eyes out for an hour afterward."
Awesome.
And then he did also say, "Sadly, I had to sell the Eldar army as my funds from disability weren't my usual pay and bills stacked up. And, but he said, thank you." And I wrote him back and I said, first of all, congratulations on beating stage 4 cancer.
Absolutely.
That is fantastic. We're happy you made it through. And I said, don't stress about selling that army. It was painted to raise money for cancer treatment.
And it did it twice.
And it did it twice. What more could I ask for?
Absolutely.
So this is not about me oh, look, my army is in the world and people are going to be think it's cool. It's no, this army, I raised this army to give away so that we have money to donate to causes. And KU Cancer Center, well, it's backed by a university.
Yep.
It's a fund that they have so they can pay for things like people getting Ubered to treatment.
Yep.
So like, and people who cannot cover their care, because I don't know if you know, oncological care, real expensive.
Yes.
And this helps cover costs for people. So just wanted to throw that out there, that why we do it. We've always tried to give to good causes. And it's another year, another army in the books. We are already actually in discussion for what we're going to do next year. From what I understand, no, not
I mean,
could
we could do like an Imperial. Sorry.
No, apparently they did a survey last year to in the middle of the year to find out what armies would people like. The two front runners were Adeptus Custodes and Emperor's Children.
I don't know anyone who plays Emperor's Children.
Now, what we also decided is with the new edition coming out, we're going to wait 3 months, see where things are shaking up, because we don't want to give people a stinker army. You want an army that people are going to want. But
we're going Custodes, not Emperor's Children. Got it. Okay.
But we also know that you don't want to necessarily give an army that is so powerful that you know it's going to be nerfed down. Yeah. So we will probably be looking in September, October of looking at where armies are sitting and come up with one that's doing well, but maybe not the new hotness.
So you're going to get the Forge World Fulgrim and paint that as the centerpiece, right?
Oh, dang. That would be impressive, but I don't know if you could travel with it at all.
It would need a magnetized case on its own. Yeah. We would have to have two cases. One for the full... Because that thing is huge.
It is huge, but it is gorgeous.
It is gorgeous. It is absolutely gorgeous.
I have seen multiple YouTube channels that do painting talk about that model of this is the model that made me stop wanting to paint models for YouTube because of how detailed and how we need to talk about this model. This model's a problem. It's too much.
Yeah. I know how I felt the first time when I painted Marathi, the full Shadow Queen Marathi. I was like, I'm not afraid of most things, but this thing terrifies me. Having gone through that, I feel okay about plastic Fulgrim. Yeah. I am terrified of Fulgrim transfigured still.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm there with you. I mean, Fulgrim, the plastic one, I've painted. That was my first time doing a multi-part painting and then assembling afterwards. I thought it went together well, but it was a lot. And I'd look at the Forge World Fulgrim and nope. I mean, it's still pretty, but I don't know if it'd be a me paint job.
Yeah.
No, that is a model that I'm if I were to ever get that is a model that I send to somebody to build and paint.
Not me.
Yeah.
Well, don't send it to me.
Yeah.
But that is a model that I'm comfortable
unless you're giving it to me.
I'm comfortable paying the price again to get it painted.
You would paint probably Angron transfigured yourself.
Yeah, I could probably do that one.
But Fulgrim, he demands a certain level of expertise.
That's true. Honestly, the biggest part with it is that I don't know about assembling it. That's the thing that would concern me the most is how it structurally will fit together.
Also, that thing's gonna be fragile as hell.
Right. That's because it's so thin and spindly.
And it's resin, yeah.
Angron is a chunky boy.
Yeah.
So I know that I can assemble him in a way that he's not going to fall apart the moment somebody breathes on him. I don't know that about about Fulgrim.
Yeah. But anyway, we're getting a little far off field.
Yeah, we normally do.
Yeah, well, yeah, we like to ramble.
I will say, if anybody is interested, obviously the raffle army was only for the people in attendance, and you had to be there to win the army. If you were interested in donating to KU Cancer Center or to Veterans Community Project, we'll put the donate links in the show notes.
Absolutely.
So you can donate as well if you're interested.
And also link those on our Blue Sky posts so that those links are available. But yeah, let's talk. I mean, I know the GT. We'll start with the GT because that's one where we didn't have a lot of direct interaction with. We're on the other side of the hall playing narrative. But...
Yeah, and the downside of us not being able to record immediately after is we don't have the people running the GT here to talk intelligently about it. That's never stopped us before. So,
but also it would have been harder to record because A, they were busy loading stuff up. And B, Warhammer Old World was still going on. They had another hour to go when we left.
Yeah.
But we are currently in my dining room around a table recording, so we don't have any of the other staff there.
We're approximately, half a mile from where we used to record?
Yeah.
Yeah. Half a mile and one floor up.
Right.
Yeah, my house used to be very close by to here.
Yes. But yeah, so, and it sounded like everything went pretty well with the GT. I didn't hear about any major issues.
The things I noticed is they were on time.
Yes.
And that's why they were cleaning up and doing things so early because they were just...
Award ceremony was half hour early?
Half hour early, yeah. I think they mentioned that there was a total of 9 drops, like from the GT. So they still went up with like 55 people, I think.
Mm-hmm.
2 of the people dropped before the event, and then a couple people dropped, day 2, which is pretty
standard.
Reasonable. The only snafu that I was aware of, and it didn't impact anything other than just kind of funny, so they asked us to check all the tables, is the folding tables that they were using. Apparently, like if you bump into them, they eventually collapse or whatever. Like the legs like fold, like will start to fold back up. So one of the tables that wasn't in use like collapsed, like folded up. So thankfully nobody was using it, but they walked by and they're like, hey, you might want to just make sure that all of your tables like are. So if at one point, when you guys were playing, I was like walking around like looking under the tables, I was making sure they weren't going to collapse on us, because I was like, that'd been bad if that happens in the middle of the game.
Yeah, that not ideal. Not ideal. But it says it's not like it didn't actually collapse on anyone. It just they heard that it could.
It did collapse. It was a table that wasn't in use.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah, so it didn't have any terrain or anything on it. It was just
But yeah, it's still good to know. Good to know. But yeah, the 64 signups sound like only two or three drops ahead of time. So
yeah, I think they said 2 drops ahead.
So still 62 players starting out. That's not bad. And also that's considering a couple of things. One, not in a hotel. So people who wanted to be here at a hotel and then just be able to walk to the con, not a thing. Second, hotel space is at a premium right now because of World Cup.
Yes.
Or I should say, the rooms are priced at a premium. There's plenty of rooms available. You just have to pay FIFA prices for them.
Yeah.
So the less said about that, the better. We could go on a tangent.
Then number 3, Dallas Open is also
Warhammer Dallas, which obviously that's the big regional event.
Yeah.
And
I heard it went really well. I worked with Joe Dolan, who designed the Heavy Bowl show that we gave away as one of the big prizes. And him and Rachel were doing like the Dallas Open. Yeah. So that they had a lot of fun with that. They sent me some pictures. So it sounds like that went really well.
I'll have to bug Joe for pictures.
Yeah. So obviously lots of reasons why we didn't have the turnout. And I know they were sweating a little bit because a few weeks out we were still I think they were still below half.
Yeah.
But it filled up pretty quick.
Up at the last minute, which is usually how these things go. But it would be really nice if gamers would get their stuff together and sign up early next time.
And well,
and not wait until 2 days before the event to sign up.
What?
Just saying.
I did that last year too.
If somebody were to wait till 2 days before the event to sign up, we can't always guarantee them a spot. Just saying.
Yeah. I feel targeted, and possibly rightly so.
But you were.
Yeah. You should embrace that feeling.
Yeah.
Embrace that feeling. It's correct.
But yeah, so the everything seemed to go pretty smoothly for the GT.
Yeah. There was a wide variety of armies there.
There was.
I think that's one of the things that, because I was looking at the results while we were waiting for the awards.
Not even the results. I was happy. I walked around. I saw 2 Voton players. They both had very balanced lists. I didn't see Eldar though.
I know there were several. There was at least one Eldari player.
Okay.
I did see a bunch of Defilers. Like anybody that was playing Chaos had.
Oh yeah, Defilers are definitely the hotness right now.
But yeah, the top 8: Custodes, Leagues of Voton, Emperor's Children, Chaos Space Marines, Orcs, Necrons, Gene Stealer Cults, and Chaos Space Marines. So only 2 duplicates in the top 8.
Yeah,
that's really good.
And if you expand to the top 12, that adds. Did you say
the second Custodes? Yeah, Thousand Suns, Chaos Demons, and Tau.
Yeah, it was honestly, it's a pretty good spread.
Yeah,
and also something else I noticed: none of the Necrons that were higher ranked were actually playing Star Shatter Arsenal rather than Pantheon of Woe. I think Pantheon of Woe its moment is kind of come and gone. But yeah, it's just 10th edition feels like. Everything's always constantly in flux, but I think it ends balance-wise on a pretty good note, which is a far cry from where it started.
Well, and I think a part of it as well, and because we saw this when 7th edition ended, we were the last event of 7th edition. At the tail end of edition, when things are going to be reset, people just kind of bring whatever and don't bring the super beat stick list usually, just kind of come and have fun. So I was not surprised that this was a little bit more low key and a lot more variety than normal.
Yeah.
We'll see how 11th goes. And obviously when we do next year, there will have been, a year to settle down the meta, and we'll kind of see which armies are on top, because someone will inevitably come out of the gate super hot.
Well, yeah,
that's just how it goes.
It's always Eldar.
It's not always Eldar. It could sometimes be Dark Eldar.
Well, even if it's not Eldar,
a variety of
they'll
Eldar
get nerfed.
I'm going to say this time, Harlequins.
Okay. They'll
Or Yanari. They're going to
still
remember. They're going to remember that Yanari exists and make them super overpowered.
and that'll still make Eldar get nerfed.
And then it will nerf all Eldar as a result.
And I will say, looking at 11th, it feels like Games Workshop is going to have more levers to use to balance things.
Yes.
Between adjusting points on detachments, the points that you spend to buy the detachments, and and having some limited use of war gear points to actually like fine tune a few units, and also keywords on detachments, being able to say like, okay, well now you can't take these two detachments together because we've given them the same keyword. Yeah, I feel like they will have more space to work to do finer balancing than we had with 10th. So
well, and things like bringing limited war gear back, and just points like that just allows them a lot more more levers. So
but yeah, let's talk about those top rankings. So I know when we get to, like, I think Trainer Wolf took 3rd, and the things here, it's like you have like the top 3 rankings, and then there's like best general on top of that. So we had Trainer Wolf took 3rd with Chaos Space Marines. If you look at Best Coast pairings, he shows up on 5th. Yeah. It's a little bit weird. We had Nathan Blankenship at 4th place with Orcs. John Vucetic, I think is Vucetic. Yeah, I'm not sure.
I don't know.
We're doing our best.
Yeah.
Mispronouncing things is my thing. With Necrons in 3rd. John Indelicate with Gene Stealer Colts. I was surprised to see Gene Stealer Colts back at the top. Yeah. But I've seen his name at multiple events, so he's a good player. Yeah, and then Chris Green going undefeated for Best General, I believe, with Chaos Space Marines. Yeah. Which, a wild list, honestly.
Well, so it's interesting because I'm actually... It's wild, and then I started looking at Trainer's list as well, and there's a lot of similarities, because Trainer's list, we'll kind of go over this first, and we'll talk about the other one, but Cypher, Huron, Traitor Enforcer, Vashtor, so Vashtor instead of Abaddon.
Yeah.
Cultist Mob, Rhinos, Rhino, Accursed Cultist, Chosen, Defiler, Masters of the Maelstrom, Red Corsairs, and then he had a couple units.
2 units Noise Marines, yeah.
So it's like, when we talk about the other list that actually, Chris's list that actually won, very, very similar. So like similar theme. Nope, Renegade Raiders. So different detachments even.
Yeah, well, that would make the 3 Rhinos make sense because, everything gets assault. So your army's constantly on the move.
Yeah, but Chris's list was Abaddon the Despoiler, Cypher, a Demon Prince, Huron Blackheart, Traitor Enforcer. So very similar, like, Abaddon and a Demon Prince instead of Vashtor, and 2 Cultist Mobs, and minimum units, minimum size of everything on here. 2 Cultist Mobs, a unit of Legionnaires with...
like one heavy melee
weapon. Yeah. I was like, what's the upgrade that you took? A Rhino for them, or actually I think a Rhino for the Raiders, but a Predator Destructor, which is nice, 2 Defilers, a Hellbrute, Masters of the Maelstrom, and then a unit of Corsair Raiders.
So yeah, we're seeing Masters of the Maelstrom, Huron Blackheart, Corsair Raiders, a Rhino, and dual Defilers, I think would be the big, and Cypher.
And Cypher, yeah.
Yeah, so that's the... And
so
and looking at the top Emperor's Children list that was in the top 8, also 2 Defilers. Like, double Defiler is like the new hotness for Chaos armies.
I will say this was the first time that I'd seen like the new Defiler. And the new Defiler model is awesome. Like, it's such a cool model. But yeah, it's really good right now.
Yeah. Takes up a huge amount of space on the table, but also moves through terrain, which I think it also says something. Moves through terrain, 4 inches or higher? I
believe so.
I think it's 4 inches.
Yeah.
And a lot of the terrain, not all of it, but a lot of the competitive fold up terrain is about 4 inches high. So Defiler's just moving through the whole table.
Yeah.
I think that says something that might be a little bit of an issue more with the way tables are set up.
Yeah.
Especially when you're in a GT and you have to set up, in this case, 32 tables.
Yeah. So to that point, part of the, all of the stuff that I was doing, getting printed at the last minute, I printed 45 tables, I think, worth of that foldable terrain. And it was a standard layout. It was 2 U shapes building ruins, 4 big L shapes, 2 small L shapes, and then little kind of tank trap type kind of things, little small ruins.
Little walls, yeah.
Yeah, little walls, thank you. And yeah, printing that for, with the thing that folds in the floor so you can put models on it. And any of those were only 2 stories tall. It was, the one
and the top story was a floor and a little bit of wall.
Yeah. So it's good for consistency because everybody has the same terrain, everybody has the same thing. You don't have to answer the question of, hey, can I see through the
There are no windows.
Yeah, there's no windows. But yeah, like it does make the tables feel a little bit samey, and there will be things like that where it's like, oh, we have, something that can move over this. Well, they can do it on every table because they're all the same.
Yeah.
So hopefully that'll change with some of the terrain rules in 11th edition and some of the standard layout changes.
Yeah.
Maybe some of that'll change. Obviously, we had to figure out what we're going to do, but we haven't got all the rules yet, so we don't know.
Right.
But yeah, like we printed a lot of that to have for this event, and then I printed a bunch of prop prizes and stuff to give out as well, including, like I mentioned earlier, Joe's heavy bolter design, which is
gigantic,
friggin' amazing. As an aside, because the thing came out and I posted pictures on our Discord, and I think I posted them. Actually, I don't think I posted them on Instagram yet, but I'll post some pictures.
Yeah, and send me some. I'll get them up on the Blue Sky as well.
Cool. But the heavy bolter came out great, and if you've seen the pictures in the past from when we give away the bolt rifle, because it's a Primaris scale bolt rifle, and when a human holds it, it is huge. Like it is comically oversized. Like the handle is like twice as big for a human. The heavy bolter is like twice the size.
It's
like,
not longer so much, but it is wider and taller, much taller.
Yeah.
Has an extra carrying handle on the top and reaching your hand down to get the grip on the thing.
When you make 3D printed props and stuff like that, like often you'll put a pole or like something through it, dowels for stability and stuff like that. This is the first time where I've ever been like, oh no, this isn't for stability. This is like load bearing, because that PVC pipe, which is like an inch thick PVC pipe, runs all the way through the handle, all the way through like the base of the thing. If it's not there, you literally couldn't lift it. Like
it would shout.
You would not be able to. Yeah. But when I was designing it first, because this past weekend I had it finished and I had finished painting it, and I set it down, and it's very like top heavy. When I set it down, like I was afraid that it was gonna like fall forward, so I tilted it kind of backwards.
Fell backwards
and crushed the handle.
Because
the weight of it was so heavy that it just crushed that piece.
Yeah.
So I had to go through and with my Dremel and cut that piece off, because I had already super glued it, and like cut all that off and then reprint that piece on like Sunday. So that handle is only like, it was made like at this point a week ago, but yeah. very, very recently.
But you printed out pistols for all like the best of like kind of like Grant top faction. So it was like best Chaos, best Xenos, best non-Marine Imperium, and best Marines.
Space Marines. So yeah, I printed off, and we didn't use all of them, but I had a human-sized Infernus pistol, a Space Marine-sized Infernus pistol, a Grav pistol, a Plasma pistol, and a Tau Pulse pistol, and a Chaos Plasma pistol.
Yeah,
and then I printed off a Orc
tank hammer,
a tank buster hammer, which is literally like a hammer with like a rocket on it. It is so fun. I printed a second one that I gave to Richard because I'm like, I want to see what you do with this. I want you to paint this. And then I had a Croisius that I made. So same thing, where it's like the handle that screws together, stuff like that. And we gave those away for I think second and third place. Mm-hmm. And then first place got the bolt rifle.
Yeah.
And then
best general
got the heavy bolter,
which I think that went to John and Delic.
Yes. Yeah, I believe that is correct.
And then Chris Green got, because I think Chris Green got
first, and then John got best overall.
Yeah,
which is why it's like some of the awards don't,
because that's also the combination of hobby and
sportsmanship, and and then I'm very, very excited that we got to this, because we always have the tradition of, it started out originally of if you finished DFL, dead last.
Yeah. Just
for those who don't quite understand the acronym. Everyone looked at me like, why are you explaining this? Not everybody will know. We would give them a copy of Dread Fleet.
We did that, at least 2 years?
We did that. Yeah. At one point, I went on eBay and bought a copy of Dread Fleet. So we did it at least 3 years. Because I remember one point, and I was like, this joke is getting too expensive. I can't do this.
and I know my version of that joke was, ever since the first Midwest Conquest, we gave away the Art of War as well.
So we're like, you need to study.
So we gave away a copy of Dread Fleet, which is the worst game GW ever made, which still holds up. And then we gave the Art of War of like, you need to learn. And I saw that Drew is doing that for the AOS event now. He's giving away the copy of the Art of War as well for last.
Even for GT, they actually had an embossed,
really nice
fancy.
version.
I'm like,
They had a really nice.
I think I paid $5 for the one we gave away, and this one looks so nice. I'd put it on a shelf.
Oh, nice.
So it is Midwest Conquest tradition now. Losers get the art, like dead last gets the art of war.
So ever since I got my printer and started printing off props and stuff like that, because the first year I printed a bolter. I didn't print the bolt rifle, but I printed a bolter and some other stuff. I had made a joke that you can print like wood filament stuff, like you can print wood.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, instead of doing a wooden spoon, which
I have one at home,
which is typically what you get for last place, I was like, let's do
from
a 40K
Iron
thing.
Halo.
Yes, let's do a 40K thing. So I was like, wooden chainsword. That would be fun. Let's print a wooden chainsword. So I printed one out like the first year that I had this idea, but I was still very early in my 3D printing like career, and like I didn't do it right, and I didn't know how to like make it. And the design for chainswords is very interesting because some of them are crap and some are pretty good, but this one like broke immediately, and I was like, no, it isn't like worthy to be able to give away. But this year I finally had like a printer that I felt could do it. I had enough time. I had a big enough printer that I could do the Space Marine size one. So that is probably 5 feet long, 6 feet long.
Yeah.
That thing was huge. It was like Space Marine size.
And yet the way you did like the infill on it and everything, it's light enough. Like I can pick it up one hand and like slot it over my shoulder
and there is a huge like 1.5 inch PVC pipe running all the way through that thing. Like
just to reinforce it.
To reinforce everything.
But it feels like wood.
Yeah.
Like
it is because it is. It's plastic with like wood mix in it. So you can sand it. I literally I did kind of mess up because I bought what I thought was the same wood material that I had from the other one, and it was a different like shade. So I went ahead and I stained everything, and it looks mostly good, but you can
kind of tell where some sections. Yeah.
But so next time I do it, I will do a smaller one because I'm not going to do that one again. I did the big one because that's just funny.
Yeah.
Like the time of like, hey, nobody knows what to expect. Let's do the big one.
He looked so pumped when
he was so excited. Yeah. That was worth it. He looked as excited as the guy that got the heavy bolter. So,
Which, you know what? Give somebody a good experience.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Somebody has a day where they go like 0-5.
That's why I always like doing stuff like that for Dead Last. Like that's why we always like enjoyed giving those prizes, because it gets a little bit of like tongue in cheek to make fun of somebody. But you could have dropped. You didn't have to come back for day 2. You could have dropped. You could have not been having fun. You could have made it a bad experience, and you stuck it out. So let's give you something for that. So
it's a variation on Best Sportsman, but Best Sportsman, especially to like people have issues with soft scores sometimes in competitive play, which is why painting is a separate thing. It's like the painting rubric is you don't have players judging each other in competitive play. In the narrative we do, but that's different. But yeah, having a place where it's just like, you could have stuck, you could have bolted. We wouldn't have shamed you if you left. People drop day 2 all the time.
Yeah. But it's just a reward for sticking it out, showing up, and being a good sport. And I think this guy's, I think he's finished Dead Last, I think 2 or 3 years in a row. Like he's done it multiple years at this point. So
he's got a whole collection of Arts of War.
Exactly.
But he's the only one who has a full size
wooden chainsword.
Yeah.
So my hope is that we can continue that tradition, because it's just fun.
Speaking of soft scores, you also had Richard as our primary paint judge, going through and judging armies for best painted for the GT. How'd that go? What kind of stuff? I was busy in the narrative, so I did not get a chance to see the armies this year.
Well, this year they made the announcement over the Saturday's first lunch break to set out the armies for anyone who wanted to be paint judged. And we actually had a lot less, because like in previous years it was like almost
we were basically doing everybody. In previous years we just told everybody, it's like, hey, leave your badge here, put your army out, put the display board up, and we'll judge it. If you don't want to be paint judged, let us know. In this case, it was nice to kind of do it the other way of like, if you were interested, please bring it forward and put it here, because then it kind of self-selected, so we didn't have to go through and look at everything. And it's like, okay, these are the ones that have kind of self-selected that they want to be judged, or that they're of a certain quality. So
and that showed. We had lots of nice armies to go over, and me and Kevin just kind of split it in half, and
I did like a third, and then you did 2/3.
But
bad at math, are you, Mr. Accountant?
we split it in half, and then I didn't carry my weight. It's fine.
Well, I want you to remember that feeling. I want you to remember that.
No.
But yeah, and there was, I think, about 5 or 6. How many did you have that were? I had 30 plus.
I had three that were 30 plus, and then I think you had 2.
And
so
I had
5
2
total.
So we had 5
Like,
total.
that were
so it
top
was
5.
Yeah.
And it was a good variety because it was Guard Army, it was a Necron Army,
A
Tyranid Army, an Orc Army, and then
Blood Angels.
Blood Angels, that's right.
Yeah.
So we had like a good spread of like the armies that were in the top painting, and they were all very well done. They were all very like, all good quality, like all deserving. But yeah, Nate Blankenship's orcs were like, and I think honestly, only by a couple of points.
Right.
But,
yes.
but
it was very
first.
close. Over the Blood Angel army, and he had a beautiful centerpiece Wazdaka model, like fully painted, just and like a number of conversions as you would expect from an orc army, and a really nice display board, and just
good quality, like good paint scheme, like just in general, it was a nice color paint scheme. The object source lighting and like stuff like that really popped on it. Yeah, it was fun. It was a good army. It was like, you look at it and you're like, if I had just been like blind looking at it, that was, I think it was because like first round we kind of walked around just to look.
We did.
And that was one that we both clocked of like, hey, we need to look at this one.
Yeah.
Well, then that's the important thing about judging is like, just taking a look at everything, kind of getting the feel for which ones jump out at you. Because you do, like you and I have done the paint judging in the past. Yeah. And you do have to like kind of hone it down to just like, okay, which are the top? And then you go in and you look with a fine-tooth comb, like under the glass, and like, okay, what are the details? And it sounds like, it's kind of, I don't want to say standard, but it's the things you expect from an orc army, but just sounds very like well executed, and well executed consistent plan will go a long way.
Yes. To that point, we also did the paint judging for the Age of Sigmar event.
Yes.
Because Drew had like 4 armies that he had selected as the top. He's like, hey, I want you guys to take a look and see what they're
like. He had gone through his rubric, and they pretty much all like scored exactly the same. None of them actually had maxed out, but they all just kind of
they all like came
in different ways outscored. And then,
but kind of evened out to the same.
Ended out evening out to being tied, and that was actually probably even harder than the
because all 4 of the ones that we looked at were all very close. There was an Ogre Kingdoms army that had all of the tattoo work on like the flesh of the ogres was all like freehand.
Oh,
like one of them had like a litany like tattooed on his back, and you could read it.
Oh damn!
Yeah, it was nuts. It was
crazy.
Yeah. And that was one that like came in like 4th of the 4.
Yes.
And like it was very good, and it came in 4th because the other ones were so good.
Yeah. Like it was a lot of like kind of splitting hairs.
Yeah, it really was.
You have to though. Yeah. When you get to that level,
But the 2 that really stood out is there was a Nurgle army that I think Disciples of Nurgle, I think is what they call it. Magakin. It had all of the Nurgle, like, disgusting weathering and stuff like that, like the rust and the pustules and the bruises and stuff.
Yeah.
But it was clean. It was all like, it was all like intentional. It wasn't like when, say, someone like me, who's a lazy painter, paints all that on there and then slathers it all in like washes to like blend it together. It was all like, it was clean while also being weathered and nurgled up, which was like
every bit of it was intentional.
And it was like, that's really good. I was like, I was really impressed with that one. But the one that ended up winning was the Cities of Sigmar army. And I even mentioned this to Richard, like when I was looking at it, like that is a model when I'm walking around, I probably wouldn't have stopped at. But the thing that set it apart is every single detail was done like perfect. Like when you pick up a model, you pick up an infantry model and everything on it is like blended well and shaded and like it's clean. Like it was perfect.
It was such a clean looking army, and it looked
so basically even
so it was
nothing
spectacular.
Nothing that like when you walk by like grab your attention, because one of the other armies was a goblin army that had like was like night goblins and had like these flashes of pink and orange and really like eye catching and again very beautiful, really well done,
creative, like bassy.
So like you walk past it and it catches your eye because it's a splash of colors like that. The Sigmar army didn't have it. It was much more subtle. But when you start looking at it, it's like, oh no, this is all the details. Like, this is all done intentionally. This
like
is
all the
done.
rank and file are painted to the level that we would paint like feature characters.
Exactly. Yeah, it was so good. It's like, this is such good execution.
Yeah, again, a simple plan executed well will go a very long way.
Yeah. So,
and segue time again. Speaking of, I don't think we had quite simple plans when it came to the narrative. The narrative had quite a bit of unexpected chaos in it,
which is the best.
What do you mean? It was all planned.
Well, I mean, you all planned it, but we players were just kind of thrown literally into the maelstrom.
Yeah,
starting off the.
And you know how we build our missions. We'll take ideas and steal them from places like GW or other groups that have done. And yes, this year's theme, we pulled a lot from the Maelstrom, and we pulled a lot from Armageddon Crusade book.
Long before we realized that Armageddon was going to be like the launch box thing.
Yeah.
Completely unintentional, actually.
But because there were some things that we really liked about it, like the hero and villain points that we had in the past that we stole from the GW narrative stuff. They kind of hadn't been working. GW's also dropped them as well.
I heard from everybody that they liked this system better.
Well, when we read this in the Maelstrom, I mean, we used the Maelstrom's warlord
objectives,
points.
the Achievos.
Yeah, Achievos. Yeah.
And so that worked out well because you do it once, you get the thing. And once you go wide on doing a variety of things to get that initial boost, if you do it multiple games, you'll get smaller boosts. You'll still be increasing, but to jump up in the rankings, you need to do pretty much everything at least once.
Right.
And so it gave the warlords something to do, something to fight for. And then that, I think, was the core of what we were trying to do. And then we tried to think of missions that would kind of tell a story, but also lend itself to letting the warlord do something that's might be different from the mission's objective. Yeah. It might be similar. But that's how we had the competing priorities set up in this.
And I think that, it did work out better than having like, okay, so this mission, the warlord is trying to do this, but everybody, or like if you're, that definitely easier to work around. And again, often encouraging you to do the kinds of things with your warlord that you might want to do, but sometimes wasn't necessarily the best strategic action. Like, I will say my first game, I had my warlord grab an objective and run off the board rather than try to, because it's like, I wanted to win the game rather than
have him on the opponent's deployment.
I mean, and I still got, that was the only one I dropped. Well, that and so the 6 were have your warlord kill an enemy unit in the fight phase.
Yes.
Have your warlord end up in your opponent's deployment zone. Have your warlord kill a Titanic unit, which really was not a thing until game 3 at the earliest.
Yeah, that was actually pulled directly from the Maelstrom book as well. And we're like, well, people like to bring Titans. Yeah. This might be something. And if they don't, well, we have a plan.
We knew that we were going to, we knew we were going to.
And then it was, the other 3 were kill the enemy warlord, reduce their army below half, and control more objectives at the end of the game.
And those were more of your 3 army ones.
Yeah.
So as long as you were doing stuff, you're like, you can pick up on those.
Yeah, and because all the missions were also objective based, like if you win the mission, you're going to get at least one of those.
Yes.
So you always felt like you could at least play to some warlord point. Yeah. So I do want to start with like how my journey went in.
Sure.
Yes, I did not sign up until like 2 to 3 days before the event. In past years, it's been because like watching like where my budget is at the time. This year, that wasn't so much an issue. It was more I was head down painting Necrons, trying because we also got started later than we did because there were just situational. Yeah, the things kind of conspired. So I started a little bit later, so I was very busy on that. But I did get signed up. So we show up, and you guys have it split between 2 factions once again: Path of Protection and Path of Destruction. Yeah. And basically, this was taking place on a shrine world. There's weird stuff going on. Tied to the previous campaign from last year.
Yeah, different world, but previous.
Yeah, different. Same players, same major players. Yeah. And so there's the faction that is, we're going to protect what is on the shrine world to keep it intact, or you're part of the ravening hordes that are coming to take it, destroy it, loot it, what have you. And so I met up with the players from my local store, which would have been Alex, Josh, and Phil. Yep. Which Phil is also one of our patrons. So, hi, Phil. How's it going? And we're like, okay, so we're all going to play Protection. Like, we'll all play Protection. We'll all be on the same team. That'll be great. And then you guys were like, okay, so we have 16 players and we have 10 protection and 6, like, you tell me, like, first off, I'm like, so because I walk him like, is everything still balanced? Everything good? And he's like, well, we have 10 protection and 6 destruction. I'm like, treachery.
Yeah, in the lead up to this event, I will admit that I didn't send out like as much like prep stuff ahead of time, like asking questions like that, because I was head down printing stuff and driving across the country to get here, to the event. So I could have done a better job of like getting some of that prep stuff done, but we knew it was going to be a small enough event that we could figure it out on the fly too. So I wasn't super worried about it.
And also having, like you said, small number, a lot of the people have come multiple times. Some people already knew who they wanted to play with, but at the same time, everyone seemed to be flexible enough to swap.
In retrospect, if we had known that we were going to have basically 4 groups of 4 players, we could have split into 4 factions and just gone real wild with it. But we didn't know that going in.
I also liked how this played out. I'm interrupting your story for a minute, Rob. Of like on the protection side, we had like 5 Space Marine armies. And then we had a Necron, a Tau, Astra Militarum.
Yep.
On the other side, we had 5 Chaos Space Marine armies, along with a Necron, a Tau, and an Orc.
And we had a Space Marine.
Well, I called him in the Chaos because he's anti-Ultramarine, but okay, he's officially Space Marine, but...
Yeah, but 4 Chaos players.
Yeah.
And 4 Chaos players and Space Marine. But yeah, I managed to convince Phil to switch sides with me.
Which led to some fun Tau v Tau friction.
Right.
Yes, which I appreciate.
Yes, and because we also had a Necron on destruction, and Josh was still playing Necrons on protection, there's some nice Necron to Necron tension. And also that meant Alex and Josh, who are from my narrative play group, versus me and Phil from our narrative play group, which is why I ended up playing Alex in round 2, Josh in round 3, and then both Alex and Josh in the final. So
nice.
I mean, I still admit it's fun to play your friends, even in these events. If I got a chance to play against Kevin in Grand Narrative,
it's fun. It's okay.
I would.
Play against you guys,
But
it's fun to play. It's okay to play with you guys.
I do want to say I think it's funny that when we tallied up like who ended up being on destruction, almost everyone on destruction, minus like a couple of players, because I think Alexander and I think one of Daniel's friend, or let's see. Well, I know, but it's like TJ, Phil, Torin, and Daniel, who are all on there, are all patrons.
Yeah.
So, and I don't think there were any patrons on the protection side.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I don't think so. So it was we've got preferred frenemies over here against everybody else.
And which side ended up winning?
I'm just saying, $1 a month, that's all we ask. Gets you access to the Discord and the best team in the narrative.
Oh, man.
That's got to be, next year, that's got to be an upper tier thing. You got to pay extra for that.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, continue with your...
So we got everything sorted out into our teams. And also, I want to give you guys props on doing a really good job at telling the narrative. I felt like you guys were getting more into character. Kevin, you were in full cosplay as a commissar.
I'm basically prepping for, because I've been working on this for a while, but I'm going to do Death Quarter Creek for the Grand Narrative if it ever gets announced this year. Please tell us so I can start booking flights and reserving hotels and ask for time off because I need to know. But yeah, I've got, because I basically, we were given from GW the launch box last year.
Yeah.
And Death Quarter Creek's just a cool army. And I had like the previous kill team, and I think I bought the holiday box like that. So I have a boatload of stuff now. And I was like, well, I want to do a cosplay for it for Grand Narrative because, of course. But I was also like, man, I don't really want to do a Krieg trooper because that's a little bit limiting. And also like from the perspective of like the characters, like the Warlord, it's the guy in charge. And I'm like, it's also really expensive to buy like wool gray coats.
Yeah.
And I didn't like, it's going to be hot to wear. Little did I know. But
I was going to say, you're wearing a
little did I know. The other part of it too, and this is actually one of the biggest reason why, I don't yet know how I'm going to paint my Krieg. So I didn't want to buy a gray coat, like a gray coat. That's the wrong color. That is like legitimately a big part of it. So I was like, well, I'll do a commissar because the Krieg commissar I think is just a cool aesthetic with the mask and everything. I was like, that's cool. So I went and started looking around, and I bought, on Etsy and some different places, people that make coats, that make like the military jackets. The one I bought was wool, and a wool jacket on top of a greatcoat is like, okay, that's too much. So I'm going to try to find one that's like a shirt instead of like a wool jacket, think that'll make it a lot better. But I went on like Amazon, and like there were, you could get like the epaulets, like the little pauldron things, and the tassels, and the I forget what it's called, like aguilette or something like that.
Yeah,
that's like the cords that go from the shoulder and like connect. So I had all that. I found a place on Etsy that had a gorget that like that goes around the neck that had like the big Imperial Aquila on it. That also could not pull down for copyright. But and then I had printed a Krieg mask, and like the Krieg mask and the rebreather. But when I printed the Krieg mask, because my glasses are a little bit wider than my old set, when I put it on, it doesn't quite fit. So I'm going to have to either find my old pair of glasses, which have a narrower frame, or adjust it and reprint it so that it flares out more, so that it actually fit on my face. Also, I'm really glad I didn't wear it because it was freaking hot in the gym. So
it was hot and muggy. It wasn't as bad Sunday, but Saturday, I was putting down water like it was going out of style.
Yeah.
But also the nice thing about a commissarial costume is you can wear it without the mask and you still look in character. Like if you were a Krieg trooper without the mask, like it would look fine, but it looks better. And also the commissary kind of gives you that air of I'm in charge of the protection.
Yes, that's exactly it. It's like I'm in charge. I'm gonna The only downside is that Dennis had to go get lunch.
Because you're in like full military.
I'm not.
No, I was fine with that.
I mean, you're still wearing the Jodhpurs and boots.
Yeah,
right
I mean,
now.
it still looks a little bit weird, but I've got like a t-shirt on, so like that helps. Yeah, I was not going to go out in full.
You would get looks.
But yeah, no, so I had that and I wanted to test it out, and I was like, you know what? I'm driving. I've got room, so I'll bring it. And yeah, it was fun.
It looked great.
Good. Yeah, it was great. I got some photos. I've got those up on my Instagram. And it worked out really well because the Power Fist that I printed out for the Grand Narrative went with it really well. It's like that. So I'm going to print out a smaller version of it that's more like human scale for the Grand Narrative.
Yeah. But yeah, it looked great. And yeah, I think, Dennis, you were also doing a good job of delivering everything in character. Did you guys have like kind of like box text? Like
we did. We did. Yeah, we did.
I wrote up scripts for 4 characters in there.
Yep.
We only covered 2. I kind of highlighted or mentioned the
Talked
other
about
2
like what was
because
going on.
There was like a Chaos Sorcerer around, and of course, Overlord Ricashry is still
like
watching things.
Yeah. But no, it came across. It felt really fun. It got I think it got everybody into the mind frame that we needed to be in. For
and we had it, to a little peek behind the curtain. We had like A/B for a lot of this. Like, okay, if this side wins, this is the result. If this side wins, this is how you spin it. To lead into the next one, because the next mission was going to happen. It was going to be the next mission regardless. But like who was the attacker, who's the defender, what bonuses you got. When we got to the later rounds and like warp anomalies set up, the number of warp anomalies and how often they occurred was based off of which side was winning and had won previous games. Yeah. So like there was a set of like, okay, if one side is going 3, if it's 3-0, then it'll be this. If it's 1-1, it'll be this. If it's 1-2, it'll, so we'd kind of like set a sliding scale for all of it, so that we had parts of it that changed, so it felt like the narrative was actually impacting the games. But the structure of it was all there. Yeah. So we can make adjustments here and there without having to print out new mission packs and like change up things completely.
We did that like our first year we were working together, and we had
that was too much.
Yeah, well, we had like 8 missions. We only used like 3 of them.
That was too much. Yeah. So it was like this is a better way of doing it.
No, it seemed to work out really well, and the missions were. Yeah, definitely. I when we started playing, I'm like, oh, this is the first one. Like, this is a Maelstrom mission.
Well, and it worked out really good because, again, like first mission of a narrative, you don't really have like a starting place. So it's like, okay, just drop in, no deployment zones, chance encounter.
Oh, that one was
as soon as I saw that mission in the Maelstrom, I knew I wanted to use it for this.
And I remember people looking at like when we got the mission packet, people are like, wait a minute, where's the deployment zones?
Yeah,
it's like,
I got asked, is this a mission? Yeah. I'm like, no, read the first paragraph about deployment.
Yeah, there is no deployment zone. It's you starting with the defender, one person drops, and then it's just basically 9 inches away. And so it led to some very interesting deployments, I'm sure.
Yeah. I got my story about Mick Foley now. Because in the Ultramarines versus the Ultramarines successor chapter that doesn't acknowledge them or hates them or something, Ethan and TJ. Yeah. TJ dropped one of his dreadnoughts behind 3 snipers. Yeah, he said, yeah, this is just like wrestling where they're like, oh no, something's behind us.
Yeah.
And then he went up there and mauled them except for one. One guy lived. And so he's, oh, that guy took the steel chair. That must be Mick Foley.
Yeah.
And so that sniper is now nicknamed Mick Foley. And
that was the Hell in the Cell
I
table.
can imagine those snipers are sitting there going, man, I can't wait for those dreadnoughts to show up here. They show up here. We're gonna shoot. I'm gonna shoot him right through his eye hole. We're gonna kill that guy. He's right behind me, isn't he? Damn.
That's exactly how it works.
He's right behind me, isn't he? Aw. But that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
The Mick Foley story. I hadn't heard that one.
So army wise, I brought because my Emperor's Children are not fully painted yet. Like I've got a few units painted, but again, I took a lot of time to work on Necrons over the last couple of months, so it hasn't been something I've been working on. But I have enough stuff painted otherwise that I was like, okay, well, I will take Cult of Ashdor and use the Cult of the Archifane detachment that they put out, which is. It's not a bad detachment. It the built-in detachment power is kind of a nothing burger because it's all your vehicles, like all your Heretic Astartes vehicles get demons. All your Heretic Astartes vehicles, Vashdor, and Lords Discordant get the Soulforge keyword, and everything had all your vehicles also get like a 5-up invuln, or everything Soulforge gets a 5-up invuln. Most of my stuff, I was like taking Mauler Fiends and a Lord Discordant, and like they have 4-up or 5-up saves anyway. I also brought a Chaos Decimator, which was people were like, "What is that?" I was
excited to see the Decimator. I hadn't seen that in a while. I have one, but I've not used it in years.
Yeah, I didn't get to bring it out first game just because we were playing escalating points, 1,000 points in the first game, so he was not in the list the first game. But it's fine. The stratagems are really where that detachment is at, and made some good use of those. And first game, I played Harlan Cooper with his Astra Militarum, which his full list was like he had like 2 Rogaldorn tanks, like a tank commander and a regular Rogaldorn tank. A couple in this game, he'd only had one. He had one Rogaldorn, couple big squads of Cadians, a pair of armored Sentinels, and a Chimera with his Warlord, which was a Castellan, and a unit of 10 Kasserkin. He's dropping things, we're dropping things everywhere, and I kind of end up building a pincer around most of his force. And he, without looking at what the Warlord fame rules were, he drops his Chimera with his Warlord right in my on my table edge, which they were going to count as the deployment zone for that mission. And he's like, "Oh, I may have made a mistake because I've just put myself in mortal danger, haven't I?" I'm like, "Yeah, because there's a Disco Lord and a Mauler Fiend on either side of you, and you may not want to be." Yeah, that game, it was bloody. It was very hard. First off, Harlan, great guy to play with. He was absolutely fantastic, and played him again in the 4v4 at the end. But yeah, that game was. We definitely both got the reduce your opponent to below half by the time it was done. I also had a unit of, since we could take legends, I also had a unit of gun cultists. So their job was to grab an objective and immediately run off the board. And then the Disco Lord and Mauler Fiend ended up killing his Chimera pretty quickly, but the Kasserkin put a lot of hurt on them in response, because between plasma guns, being able to do first rank fire, second rank fire with hotshot las guns, and they've got the mine that they can use, and those are vehicles, so they take a lot of damage when they hit the mines. He whittled them both down to 3 or 4 wounds.
Nice.
But that Mauler Fiend survived. The Disco Lord also survived, who then immediately ran to grab an objective and then run off the board next turn. But that Mauler Fiend survived, and I mentioned that the stratagems are where that detachment, Cult of the Archifane, is. They have a stratagem in there that says you can heal a unit D3 wounds, but if it's Soulforged, it just automatically heals 3. It was down to 3. By the end of the game, it was back to 9.
Nice.
And that's important because, we were just hammering on each other in the other side. I got him, I had a big blob of cultists with a Dark Commune that just shredded one of his big 20-man Cadian blobs. Did not end up finishing off the other immediately, but I did end up taking them out. I had 2 units of Obliterators. They both ended up getting killed, but in the end, they killed off the Cadians. one Mauler Fiend killed off the Sentinels, but then got killed by the Rogaldorn, because the Rogaldorn just points at something and it goes away.
Just deletes it.
But in the end, I had him down. I managed to get some wounds on the Rogaldorn. He was on 2 objectives. I had taken 2 objectives and run off the board, so we're tied at this point. The game's going to end in a tie. Bottom of 5. I take that Mauler Fiend, move it 10, advance it, and it got a good advance. I think a 4-inch advance. There's a strat in there that also lets you advance and charge.
Nice.
And then proceeded to make a 10-inch charge into the Rogaldorn. I didn't have enough command points to tank shock it, but I didn't need to, because I then proceeded to do 18 wounds to it in close combat with the Mauler Fiend fists, after it had already taken like 6 wounds from the Obliterators and just eliminated it from the game.
Can opener.
Wow. Yeah. Which got it to a 3-1 victory for me.
Nice.
Yes, but fantastic game. I would play Harlan any day of the week.
So I'll say other comments I'll say about first round is, like we said, on mission design, it was nobody's here. Let's just drop it and go. But the Seize the Supplies was the actual in the maelstrom. So we said, this is a new twist. I don't think many people have done this. Let's see how this works, see what players think about it. And one added effect I didn't think about until after it was going, as you're picking up the objectives and running off the board, there's less things on the board.
Yes.
Yeah.
Game 1 finished a lot sooner than I thought it would, because I didn't think about that ballpark.
Yeah.
What I thought was really funny is the overall, because looking at the scores, the 2 factions tied 16-16 on like objectives and supply crates.
Oh, okay, go this story.
But Torin decided, the orc player was like,
who was on destruction, he was on our team.
Why would I give this to the warlord?
Yes.
Can I keep it?
Yeah, he said that in our little discussion thing. He said, I'm fine with everything you say except for give the shinies. I'm like,
because he is also an orc player.
Yeah, I came to him later and said, okay, if you mean that, we'll let you keep your shinies and not give you any points for destruction.
So destruction lost by 1 because of that.
You know what, though? That is so perfectly that's
exactly.
That's the stuff. That's
we're like, absolutely, we're going to let this happen.
Well, it's just like, it's like it wasn't a matter of you asking me, hey, Rob, would you be willing to switch over to the other team? The minute you said, oh, yeah,
we need someone, you're like,
I'm like, I'm a traitor.
What's really funny is it made me think about at the Grand Narrative last year, and I know we talked about this, but the warlords were walking around and they had like things that they were tokens and stuff they were giving out to people and like trading for stuff. And like, that's very much what it felt. It was like, because like the Grand Narrative, you had like this, you were gaining these resources and you could trade them out for like personal upgrades, faction upgrades, or just for whatever. And like, it was just this really interesting, like, like again, like if I'm trying to be selfish or do something for me, maybe I don't want to help the group, maybe I want to do my own thing. I was very neat. I thought it was very fun that kind of came up organically, and that it was literally the tipping point for the first round. Which is good, because we were also trying to figure out what we were going to do when you guys tied. So
Torrin solved that problem for us. Good job, Torrin. Also a preferred frenemy. See, that's why you joined the Patreon. You get to hang with cool people like that who do fun things. So then going into the second round, this mission, I'm trying to remember it off the top of my head. I know the big thing.
Kill the warlord.
Oh, that's right. Well, that was the goal we were given.
Yeah.
Well, and we tried to make it easy for you.
Yes, and there were 2 special deployment zones where your warlord and one other unit, up to one other unit could be placed, and they had to be placed there. And then everything else could be in the normal deployment zone. And but there were also objectives on the board to control. And I picked Alex from my local group because last year we ended up playing each other twice in a row because of, like, first time it was just like we picked each other. And then the second time, I think it was, we were doing the 2,000 point game and we had an odd number of players. So it ended up being like me and TJ, also one of our Patreons. I'm going to plug the Patreon. I get it. The people who join it,
absolutely,
because I can vouch for them in person. They are absolutely a blast to play with.
Absolutely.
But, it was me and TJ, so because TJ, we're like, well, 2 people play 1,000 points and Alex will play 2,000 points, so we ended up playing each other twice in a row, and then playing each other on the second day. So I was like, well, it's tradition, I have to play you, Alex. So I pick him out. That may have been a mistake for a couple of reasons. I love playing against Alex. He's playing like Armored Spearhead, Space Marines, specifically Death Watch. And I'm like playing Cult of Ashtor, and looking back at my army, It is much more of a melee army. I have some shooting elements, especially when I get to 2,000 points. But at 1,000 points, it's primarily, or at 1,500 points, it's still primarily a couple of units of obliterators, a Chaos Decimator, the Disco Lord's got some shooting, Vashtor at that point is my warlord. He's got some 12-inch shooting, but it's primarily a melee army. And other than the special deployment zone, which was only 4-inch by 6-inch, it's tiny.
Yeah.
I have Mauler Fiends. They've got to get all the way across the table. So I put Vashtor in the Warlord zone along with the Chaos Decimator. Now, technically, I don't need it because in that mission, the Warlord automatically had 12-inch loan. Like, all Warlords had 12-inch loan off. Because, so somebody couldn't just snipe them off the board early. Right. And Chaos Decimator is on a little 60 mil base. Because it's an older model, they didn't have, like, the big ovals back then. If they redesigned him now, he'd be horribly huge and bloated. But he's a little bitty, like, dreadnought size thing. So I'm like, I'll put him in there because Vashtor also has loan off if he's within 3 inches of Demon Engine, and he makes the weapons on a Demon Engine within, like, so many inches too stronger. Top of 1, the Decimator gets popped. Now, this is not the end of the world. Yeah. Because the Chaos Decimator has a rule that it's like Celestine. It gets back up with D6 wounds on a 2-up. I rolled a 1. Top of 1, I did not get to use it.
Did you command reroll?
I can't command reroll that because command reroll is limited to a certain set of rolls.
Yeah, that's true.
So, no, I did not. I could not. My first two turns, like halfway through turn 2, I realized my dice have gone ice cold. Even Alex is like, if you lose this game, it is absolutely because of the dice. He's like, because he was watching me. I could not make a hit. And if I did manage to, I could not make a wound. I could not make a save. I could not make a decent advance roll to save my life. And I could not resurrect my Decimator on a 2-up.
That's rough, buddy.
Anyway, so halfway through my turn 2, I'm like, and I'm using the preferred enemies dice. I'm using
was your problem. There's your problem.
Which in the past have been okay. They've been fine. But I'm like, no, none of you are without sin. You are all of you away. And I reach into my dice bag and I'm like, okay, give me all the Daughters of Cain dice, the big red chunky dice. I'm like, get all those out. And then the game turned and I was able to play pretty well. We again bloodied the hell out of each other. I killed his warlord. He did end up killing Vashtor, so we again tied there. But it's like I had 4 of the 6 variables for the like fame, like at the end of the game, that I would have won that game, but he basically is like, I have to kill Vashtor, because if he doesn't kill Vashtor was going to end up on an objective, and it was going to be a 3-1, a 3-1 or 3-2. There were 5 objectives on the board. It was going to be 3-2, and so he pours everything into Vashtor at like the top of 5 and manages to kill him and puts us in a draw. After he had drawn his first game already as well. Yeah, so
that's the one other thing I thought funny is in round 1, there were 2 draws.
Yeah.
Round 2, there was only 1 draw.
And it was us.
But
it was Alex
in both.
Yep. Yeah. Yep. So we managed to play each other into a draw. Again, Alex, always a great guy to play. And also, I think it was funny, the deployment zone. Afterwards, TJ comes up to me. He's like, crap, I think I left points on the table. Like, what are you talking about? He's like, well, you have to get your warlord into the opponent's deployment zone to get that extra warlord point. I'm like, yeah. He's like, that little 4x6-inch square is a rectangle is a deployment zone. I could have gotten my warlord there and it would have counted.
Technically, yes.
Yeah, and so he was kind of kicking himself, but I think he kind of, like, he was okay with it. Foreshadowing.
Foreshadowing is a literary device.
So, I'll say from that mission design, this was the first time we kind of, because the first one is collect supplies. We gave points in the backside for how much supplies you collected. Yeah. That was the key thing.
Yeah.
And so those were 1 and 1.
Yeah.
The second one, the actual mission was like objectives, but your faction mission was kill the warlord. Yeah. So the only points that mattered for faction points were, did you kill the other warlord? Yeah. Okay, 1. Did you not? Okay, 0. And so that's kind of how that round
and destruction came out ahead on that one.
Yeah. Because a lot of people were tied on it, but there was, I think, 2 of them that were Destruction's warlord lived and the Protection warlord didn't, and that's what swung it into Destruction's favor there.
So then going into third round, because destruction won, now destruction is defending rather than because
we were gonna have that's what we spun it, but I'll behind the curtains thing. We said if one group has picked the tables twice,
we wanted to switch around.
The other group will have to pick the tables.
But yes, other things were determined by who won and lost those games.
So
but it played out very nicely for us.
Yeah, if you're not aware of how this goes, there are no preset pairings. Basically, one side is told, you are the defenders, go find a table. The other side is, you are the attackers, find the table that has the opponent you want to face.
Oh, I need to say this part.
And I like it because that allows you to play like different opponents. You can strategize a little bit, but also like Torin, who has his orc army, wanted to play on the orc table, so he kept picking the orc table because like
only twice. But I did look at it. We had 7 tables of the 8. Had at least one person who'd played on that table previously in round 2. So, and it was a thing of, I like the orc table. Like Josh played on the Necron table twice. Torian played on the orc table twice. And other people that said, my army's there, I just don't want to move.
In mine, like Alex ended up picking the table that I had been at the previous round. Right. So I was like, okay, well, I know this table. But I didn't feel like it was a limitation. And
no.
Not at all. And all the tables were very different.
We tried to make them.
They were none of the, this is the same table layout, and lots of different looks to the tables, but plenty of terrain, plenty of line of sight blocking stuff. So
we heard that thing from last year. We made sure we. The only one that was a little weak was the orc table, but I didn't hear complaints about that one.
And I've got more orc terrain to bulk out for that table. I just didn't get a chance to get it painted.
And that's built primarily off of the Octarius terrain, and that terrain's a little bit shorter. They need, but it does. You have like,
but I found another box of it though, so I have another box to bulk it out.
Yeah,
and a few other things to add. But
you could also scatter in some Mechanicus terrain, and it would look totally fine.
Yeah.
Especially, and with 11th being, it's not so much the walls that define a piece of terrain as much as like this terrain is obscuring.
Yeah, we're gonna have to figure out 11th when it drops.
Yeah. Fortunately, you'll have a year.
Yes, we're gonna be thankful for that.
Yeah.
But so for the second game, that was the first time we started deviating from you could win, like lose the game, but as long as you killed their warlord, and if they didn't kill yours, well, for the faction, that was a win,
right?
But that's also gets into, then what do I get for winning the game? Well, both the first and second games, if you won them, you got to call in a command assist, which is what we have of like little extra hero characters that we let you bring in, and they can join any unit that they can normally join or any battle line unit because, well, odds are you're not going to exactly always find your faction.
Right.
Well, and let's be fair. This idea started because we wanted to create the 4 of us as models to be usable in this, and then like it's spun out into like, 30 models now?
No, 25.
25, okay. Plus all the knights.
Oh, plus the knights. I'm not counting the knights yet.
Yeah. But so it's spun out from there, and it's turned out to be this really cool, fun thing where it's like, oh, I can build and paint a model and go crazy with it. It doesn't have to fit an army scheme. It can just be, for this piece here. And then also now with the Crucible of Champions, it's super easy to build these characters. Let's build this cool
the 9 characters we added for this year, because if we filled out, we needed to have one for every player.
Yeah.
So all 9 built this year were using Crucible of Champions, which I will note is a little less powerful than some of the others, like the older ones. Yeah. But I think Kevin and I talked for 11th edition. We'll probably revisit all of them and rebuild and redesign all of them.
And then figure out like what factions are not represented, because I would love to have.
We got comments about Tau. We got comments about,
Because we have a far stock, a crude far stalker.
Yeah.
But like we don't have like, I would love to put like an ethereal or something in there.
And then looking at our chaos, Imperium we have a lot.
Yeah.
Xenos we have a good chunk. Chaos we have 4.
Yeah, which we've got more. That's easy enough.
And if you guys need me to pitch in on some stuff, we can.
It's just getting them built, being painted. So I don't have to print 40 tables worth of terrain this year, so that will be helpful.
Yeah.
Editor Rob here. We're going to take a quick break for a sponsor identification before we go into round 3 of the narrative. But I did want to say, if you want to enjoy the show ad-free, you can always join our Patreon. I've been plugging the Patreon and the cool people on the Patreon for a while now in this episode. But if you want to be part of that community and get access to our Discord, any game material we come up with, and an ad-free feed for the show, go to patreon.com/preferred enemies. We don't lock any of the shows behind a paywall, and it's only $1 a month minimum if you want to just think of an online tip jar, but it really does add up. It helps out and it helps us cover the cost of recording services and new microphones when we need them. And we're working on getting some merch designs coming. Again, that's patreon.com/preferred enemies. And also, if you want to check out our merch, it's at preferredenemies.com/merch. We've got our merch store. We've got some new designs coming that I'm really excited about, and hopefully we'll be able to unveil those soon. But yeah, those are a couple ways to support the show. Anyway, we'll be back in a bit, and we'll pick up on round 3 just a bit.
So going into the third game, and that was and I will say the support that I had in second game, because I won my first game. So second game, I took the Noise Marine, who you named Soundcheck.
Yes.
1-2.
I love my namings.
And that actually worked out really well. So the rules for the command assist are they can join any unit that they would normally be able to join, or they can join any battle line unit, kind of like an Inquisitor can. Because otherwise, if you pick one that doesn't quite fit your faction,
then they're just standing out.
Then with a couple of exceptions. There are some characters that can hold their own solo, but
we also started designing some that could, because not everyone brings battle line anymore.
Right. But in that case, the gun cultists, he ended up joining them because they are a battle line unit. And that worked really well for me because he has the Doom Siren ability.
Mm-hmm.
I was moving them up the side of the board, and Alex had unloaded some Terminators out of one of his vehicles. They fired at him. They managed to, they hit him. They hit the Terminators, and I'd already put a little bit of damage on them. And they managed, I think, plink off one wound on one guy, so get him down to 1 wound. Well, and that's when Soundcheck kicks in, because he's got the Doom Siren that a Lord Cacophonous would have, which then, if the unit he's leading hits anybody with a ranged attack, roll 3d6, and for every 4 up, they take a mortal wound. That finished off a Terminator.
Yeah.
Which then softened them up enough for Vashdor to be able to go clear out the unit of Terminators. Minus the Chaplain, there was a little bit of back and forth of the Chaplain and Vashdor smacking at each other. But I did not have a command assist going into round 3 because I had tied, not won.
Yeah, we kind of stuck with that.
Which is fair. It's fair. It's fair. So this time, I'm the defender. I pick a table. And then Josh, my local player who plays Necrons, rolls up. Now, I have a history with Josh. Josh and I are good friends. Not that kind of history. We're not. But not the history of
sounding a little defensive there.
No, I'm saying
I know what you mean.
But specifically a history of I have never had an easy time with his Necrons.
Yeah,
he plays Necrons
strong.
Yeah. He plays Necrons very well, and they are very strong. And we were also playing the Nullfield mission, where there's a big bubble of no, a 12-inch radius bubble of no invuln in the middle. And where are all the objectives you need to score?
In the middle.
In the 12-inch no invuln. Or
the
24
that way.
The Thousand Suns character was not happy with me about
Neither
this
was
mission.
I, because did I remember let's rewind back to what is my detachment ability? My vehicles get a 5-up invulnerable save. My cultists, who are led by Dark Commune, have a 5-up invulnerable save, which gives them a lot of survivability until they get onto an objective, and then they just kind of fall down if something breathes at them. So it shut down a lot of my army rules. Necrons, they do have some invulnerable saves primarily, but they don't care, because if you don't wipe them, they'll just get back up.
Yep.
I was holding my own at first. I was doing okay. I definitely bloodied him. The Decimator did not die immediately. The Decimator actually killed a few things. It did end up dying. I did end up rolling a 1 for its resurrection again. So I do not know if it actually does that or not. The text says it does, but I have no actual proof. But the game was going okay. I dropped down my obliterators at a point where I could open up on some of his Locust Heavy Destroyers and some of his Scorpex. I lost my Land Raider in that one, because now we're at 2,000 points. I have a Chaos Land Raider full of Possessed, which a Land Raider with a 5-up mineral save is ridiculous until you move that into the bubble and it no longer has the influence.
You don't get it,
yeah. Which he killed by using Scorpex Destroyers and popping the Plasma Sight with them so that they have devastating wounds with a lot of attacks. And he's playing Cursed Legion, so all his Destroyer Cult units are +2 strength. So he had a lot of very strong firepower and melee attacks. He did kill the Land Raider, but then between a unit of Accursed Cultists, the unit of Possessed from inside the Land Raider, and Vashtor, I surrounded the Scorpex, and he's like, I'm just going to pick him up.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, there's no way they survived that many attacks, and he didn't have enough command points to interrupt, so he's just like, I'm just going to pick him up. But then the next turn, he deep struck the Nightbringer.
Yeah, that thing.
And
Ouch.
the Nightbringer just wrecked me.
Mm-hmm.
Between that and then Necrosaur Amintar, who was his warlord,
Yep.
the two of them together, I almost killed Amintar. But almost doesn't count against Necrons.
Oh, true.
'Cause-
Even sometimes killing him doesn't count.
Yeah. At the end, like, I was reduced to sending my blob of cultists into him. Now, they had an ability that would just automatically give them advance and charge and +1 to hit and +1 to wound, which he then had an ability that gave them -1 to hit. So, like, a stratagem that gave them -1 to hit. So now I'm back to my, like, hitting on
Normals.
4s. And I think I stuck 2 wounds on it because also I have, like, no AP in that.
Yeah.
So
Cultists are not AP.
yeah, they're not. I mean, I gave them lethal hits so that they, like, just anything I can do to stick wounds on them, but it just wasn't enough. And at the end of the game, I wasn't quite tabled. I think I still had the Chaos Decimator had died. I may have, no, I may have been tabled. I think we called it. I technically had like one obliterator left, but it really didn't matter. Yeah. I had 0 objectives. I had scored none of the fame points.
Oh yeah, the fame points too.
But none of us had held the center for more than a turn at a time.
Yeah.
And see, that's where the deviation plays in again, because yes, winning the game, you didn't have to focus on the center.
Yeah.
The points for the faction thing, hold the center.
Yeah.
How long did you hold the center? That's what the points you got for. And I'll say this, in that round, Protection actually won more games than Destruction did.
Yeah.
But Destruction held the center longer.
But Destruction held the center longer. So that's why Destruction got the win.
I will say in that game, it was constantly back and forth with us who was holding the center.
And also, both rounds 2 and 3, you started to see deviations for people. Like, some people were focusing in on the Warlord points. Others were focusing on the missions. And at least from how the score sheets came in, it was kind of obvious, or especially when killed Warlords in the first or the second game. And in this one, the people that held the center, they got it, but they might have not had Warlord points. And so we started seeing those 3 tracks. And the winning was just if you did it or not.
Right.
So I was very thrilled at seeing that. And I guess Behind the Curtain mission decided, I think there were 2 or 3 missions we were looking at for that third mission. Yeah. But I wanted something that, like, here's a focal point that we can focus on for driving the next round.
Yeah.
And that's why this one finally got chosen, because, something that's drawing in all the energies and making all your invuln saves go away.
Which also makes it, like, holding that becomes a very intentional choice, because you cannot just stick a unit up there with, like, a really good save and just hope they'll last.
Yes.
And that was probably the longest discussion that we had, like the most back and forth about the third mission, because we were trying to figure out, and like, I remember going into this, you were saying like, oh, I love the first 2 missions. The 4th mission was awesome. Yeah. And it's like, that third mission, we're not sure. And it's like, we made the decision. It's fine. At this point, we're not going to change it. But, it's like, I was like, I think it's good. The only thing I would say is that it definitely, those last games seemed to take a little bit longer, because we were layering in warp anomalies and this other stuff. And I think the Warlord stuff, I think it may have been a little bit of an overload, but I don't know. I mean,
that's something else we need to mention is the third game is when warp anomalies became a thing. And obviously this is when we switched from being in the Maelstrom book to being in Crusade Armageddon.
Yes, exactly. And we wanted to do that early and have 2 missions of each.
Yep. Yeah.
And also,
well, the Maelstrom missions fit the smaller point levels well.
Yes, exactly. And with this, it kind of added a new, because as we said before, I don't know if everyone gets to play the Crusade books.
Yeah.
So this is a way, hey, you might not have the book, but here, have a taste of what it would be like to play on it.
Yeah. No, and it was great. But yeah, the warp anomalies, basically, I think based on how things had gone in the first couple of games, you said at the start of each battle round, we were rolling 2 warp anomalies, which was roll on a 3d6 chart, and with the two most common results being add a warp token.
Yeah.
Like starting with the attacker, add a warp token to a
If you had the actual chart, it's a lot more wordy. I tried to strip away all of the extra words, which I put on the top, but that confused some people. Sorry about that. But
it's first time using it.
But 10 and 11, the most common results in Armageddon, one is for your mission because it has a mission special rule, and one is for the Hellscape, which has a special rule.
Well, you stripped away the Hellscape.
Since we stripped away the Hellscape, and I didn't want to do a specific mission one, and we needed a way to give you warp charges. Most common ones get some warp charges. Because that way it'll start making it interesting.
And then, it could be anything from like, you lose a toughness, or pick a unit, it can't shoot, which that definitely came into play. If a little bit in round 3, definitely in round 4 for our game. That came in clutch in round 4. But or it could be something like, hey, you heal a D6 wound, or you move an extra inch for every warp.
I heard you guys got all the neat things like that. We're doing an Armageddon Crusade in my Dallas group, and we roll things like, my unit that has lethal hits gets lethal hits, or my unit that has sustained hits gets sustained hits. This unit can't shoot. Oh, well, that one's normal. But
I think you asked me after like round 1, like when we were going to drop in the supply crates.
Yeah.
And the answer was we weren't, because people complained about them in the past, and also we were doing this randomness. More than one person came up to me in round 3 and was like, so this is what you're doing for the crates this year.
Yeah.
And they were like, and my rolls are just as bad. It's like, I don't know, man, that's on you. That's on you.
Send your dice to jail like I did. So that wrapped up day. I end day 1 with a record of 1, 1, and 1.
Yeah, nice. Very balanced.
Very balanced. Yeah, I messaged my partner afterwards, and I tell her, because I was like, I won my first game. Hey, I tied my second game. I haven't lost yet. So I end the day at 1, 1, and 1. She's like, not the best result, but somehow aesthetically pleasing. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll say the results came in, as you said, longer games. So we had results kind of trickling in, but once again, it was, I guess what I said, the Sinner was held the most, and
Destruction held the most, but I think Protection won the most games.
Yes, they did.
Yeah. So it was very interesting. Yeah, very interesting result.
Like I said, here's where the Warlord points. And at the end of day 2, Kevin and I did, and told Kevin what.
I was looking at the spreadsheet.
You were. Destruction was down to pretty much a 3-way race going into the 4th one.
Yeah.
Protection, though, had like a 5-way race.
5 people.
There were only 3 people that were mathematically eliminated from the Warlord thing.
Yeah.
So the Protection was just wide open. I mean, there was a front runner, but he wasn't uncatchable.
Yeah.
Until game 4.
Until game 4, and then he mopped up game 4.
So, going into day 2, and we all knew that day 2 was going to be...
Well, I'll do this part first. So also at the end of day 3, Kevin and I took down all the tables, all the mats, all the terrain, and set up these big boards in preparation for day 2, which was nice because that means we didn't have to get here super early. And when we got here, everything was ready.
Yeah, and you even had like all the deployment zones clearly marked.
Well,
so
we had to.
It
would not have worked.
But also that meant the players could get here, unpack their arm, like pick their sides, unpack their armies, they're ready to go. We were able to get started very quickly.
That was the goal.
And you guys succeeded at that. Like everything was prepped and ready for us. So do really appreciate the work you guys put into that.
So what was the name of the mission that we played? Because
Assault on Warp Gate.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was a double wide board mission. And we're using old mats, so this is 4 foot by 12 foot fields. And the deployment zones, the defender's deployment zone is like a shallow curve across the entire table.
Yep.
And then the attacker's deployment zone, like there's a no man's land, and then the rest of it is this shallow concave cut of the attackers. But then there's 2 objectives in their deployment zone, like on either flank. There's 3 in no man's land, 1 at the center, and like 2 about like on the side. About halfway to 2/3 way across. And then there's 1 in the defender's deployment zone. And there was another thing we noticed. Each of the no man's land objective markers had a knight in it. Now, in the past, and I know you did this a little bit for round 3 for people who had lost 2 games in a row, which I tied 1 and lost 1, so I did not get to experience this. We mentioned the support assist characters, but if you have done very badly and you're 0-2 in going into round 3, you get a Titan assist, which is a knight.
Yep.
And you had a variety of knights and knight adjacent models like a chitin.
Yeah.
To
we basically went through and standardized the profiles for the most part. You don't have to pay points for these, so like you can add it to your army, and then there were certain rules.
Like they didn't come in until like round 2.
Basically, it's the Doom Rider rules where it's like he doesn't come in until a certain round, and then like instead of randomly rolling to see if he leaves, they leave after round 4. So it's basically the idea is that like they're they basically are just wandering onto the battlefield and doing some destruction and then wandering off. Like
Right.
They are not part of your army. They are not helping you per se. They are just
in game 3 they would have.
Yeah, in game 3 they do.
They're not like showing up to like join your force and like, oh, I'm pledging to you to like help you with this. They're just like, I'm here, I'm going to help you, and I'm going to wander off.
I will toss this out. In game 3, there were 4 Titans on the boards.
Mm-hmm.
Halfway, because we had 2 that were 0-2, but we had 2 that were 0 wins and a tie.
Yeah.
So since we only had 4, I'm like, okay, let's give them
Let's
out
just
to
give
give
them,
more
yeah.
people a chance to get that Titan killer.
Because we were trying to get Titan Slayer, and nobody got Titan Slayer until the final game.
Right, because that was one of the 6 points. Was Warlord kills a Titan unit.
Yep.
That is harder. It's very hard when no one takes one.
Yep.
And when there's 2,000 points of other enemy to deal with, maybe fighting the Titan is not your main goal.
And in
But
the
it's
third
an enticing
round,
option.
nobody did that choice. I was surprised. I thought the Ultramarines might have.
Yeah.
Because there was one on theirs. And then there was one fight that had a knight on each side. And they didn't even try.
Probably the knights were busy fighting each other.
No, the knights were going after chaff on the other side.
Okay.
So the
All right.
knights didn't even see each other in that one.
Yeah.
So
But yeah, we get to the tables, and we notice that on all the No Man's Land objectives, there is knight, knight, knight. And we're like, okay, this is interesting. And you explain, okay, so the ritual's been going on, and someone has decided to do something interesting and put knights on the field. Well, who controls them? No one.
Well, story-wise, it was the Necron Overlord had found out that the Chaos guy was here trying to do a ritual. He already had his orc guys
he was trying
attacking.
to interfere, yeah.
So he's like, oh, well, hey, this might work in my favor. So he gives this guy these knights to corrupt and play with. Also, to also distract him from what he was also doing, which was trying to seal up the planet for himself.
Right.
And so, yeah, that's how we got the Unbound Knights, which are, this mission is directly taken from our Crusade Armageddon, where that is a no man's land. And instead of knights, it's demon princes.
Right.
And you roll, and they don't actually start on the objectives. They will just start anywhere in no man's land that the defender chooses. But also in that mission in Armageddon, the attacker gets the ability to have their people come back at least once because, well, the demon princes are killing them.
Right.
So I'm like, well, we're not giving an entire side warp charges and we're not having the comeback hellscape on here. So yeah, well, let's change this somehow. And also, this is the first time we're letting people try out Unbound Adversaries because that is a major part of Armageddon Crusade.
Right. But limiting it to basically 3 units on the board, you gave them a standardized sheet, so it didn't matter what the knights have to be equipped with. They all had the same.
Technically, we designed 3 profiles, one for a shooting knight if they had 2 weapons, one for a balanced knight if they had a weapon and a sword, or a weapon and a gun, and then a melee one if they had 2 melee weapons.
I don't think we had any.
We got here and it's like, oh,
They're all balanced.
Yeah.
So
well, it's good to have. But.
Yeah. So in the end, you had these 3 Unbound Knights who, if you're not familiar with the Unbound rules, we do talk about it a bit in our Crusade Armageddon coverage, but basically Unbound Adversaries go after the nearest unit. And if there happens to be warp charges in play, whichever side, like if there's a tie between who's closest, whoever has the most warp charges or warp tokens, that's who they're going to go after. Turn 1, nobody's got, especially because the Knights get a turn before anybody else. Nobody's got warp tokens yet, so they just went after the closest. Which, so let's talk about in my game. I cannot speak for the other game. I know that one was going on well after we were done.
Yeah.
I'll just say this about those. Yours had a lot more shooty. Theirs has a lot more bulk melee.
Yeah.
And they got started a little bit later, too.
Yeah. So we looked at the groups, and there were 4 players from the Warsaw team. And of course they're like, well, they're all on protection. Like, we're going to be a team.
And they're all Space Marine factions too, which was neat. It was like Blood Angels, Dark Angels, Ultramarines, Black Templars. It's like,
oh, it's the battle. It's Armageddon.
Because I basically, like, when I was doing the briefing for that one, I was like, I need 2 teams of 4 because we were the attackers. The protection was attackers. So I was like, we're assaulting this to try to stop the ritual. I need 2 teams of 4. Decide how you want to do that. And they were like, well, yeah,
we're already a
group,
group.
And then we're gonna do that.
Yeah,
so I was like, so that was fairly easy.
And then the other group of 4 was Alexander, who was a friend of Torrens and was playing Tau, Alex, Josh, and Harlan. So all 3 of my opponents are on the other side of the table from me.
Very nice.
And then Alexander. And then, so we look at the other side. Well, Daniel has 3 friends who have traveled with him, like, and they're all in destruction.
Yep.
Like, well, we're going to be a group. And so they decide we're going to go against the Warsaw group.
Yep.
And so that leaves the rest of the preferred enemies, patrons, and me, because it's TJ, Phil, Torrin, and me. So we looked
who
at
won that game.
So again, you should join the Patreon.
it does not always make you play better.
I mean, it can't make you play worse.
That's not necessarily true.
I wouldn't go that far.
Look, I'm not only a patron, I'm also a member.
You don't pay shit.
If only. I've probably spent more. Yeah. Anyway,
not for the Patreon.
Yeah.
Anyway.
No, anyway.
Yeah. Anyway. So we spent a little bit of time strategizing and like talking about lists because I'm like, I can play my 1,000-point list from the first game, which has cultists and a couple of Mauler fiends and doesn't have Vashtor, just has the Lord Discord.
So as a quick aside, the reason why the other game also like started later is because you were talking about like the planning that you guys did, which was like, hey, we should kind of coordinate do some of this. An hour in, they were still coordinating their lists of like where they're going to put stuff.
think
like,
it was an hour.
Yeah, like they were very much more.
It was some time, yeah,
but they were very much more tactical.
Yes, but it's like we did a little bit of coordinating beforehand because like TJ's bringing like oops all dreadnoughts, like that was his list.
Yep.
And so he's
all weekend.
So he's like, oops, all dreadnoughts is like 2 ballistas, 2 redemptors, a brutalis, a couple of tech marines. Like that's pretty much his list. I was like, I can bring either my standard list for 1,000, or I did put together a list for the 4v4 that was just like Vashtor, Land Raider full possessed, 2 Mauler fiends, and the Decimator, just my heavy hitting vehicles and Vashtor.
I think that's what you ran.
Yeah, that is what so that's what it's, and then so we were like talking with Torrin and Phil. Phil is all Kroot hunting packs, so it's just a horde army.
Mm-hmm.
And then Torrin's like, well, I'm a little bit more shooting, a little bit more elite, but I still have bodies that I can. I've got Grots, I've got Beast Snagga Boys, and I've got Flash Gits. Yeah, he's got a kill rig with Beast Snagga Boys. He's got a battle wagon with a boss and Flash Gits. And we're like, okay, so you two are volume, and then we like TJ and I will be the hard punchy. Like and Phil like sitting down at the table, and what are we facing? We are facing battlesuit heavy Tau.
Mm-hmm.
We are facing vehicle heavy Deathwatch.
Mm-hmm.
We are facing. Josh has changed his list from being Cursed Legion to Pantheon of Woe because he decided to bring the Void Dragon and the Nightbringer.
Oh, I'll just do this. Both tables got both Satan shards on them.
Oh, oof, rough. And he had a Doomsday Arc and then like just an Overlord. Just like, I have to have a character. I'm legally required to have a character. And then Harland, who brought 2 big blobs of Cadians, the Armored Sentinels, and both Rogaldorns at 1,000 points.
Nice.
And so it's like Harlan's over on one flank, like far end of one flank, Alexander's on the other, and we've got Josh and Alex in the middle of across from us. And Phil's looking at this and he's like, I don't know what to do. Like I don't have the firepower to deal with any of this stuff. I've got Rampagers and I've got lots of Kroot, but I just don't feel like I have much to go off of.
Yeah.
And we're like, dude, you are bodies. You are bodies with sticky objectives. And you also have a lot of stuff. He can do redeploys. He can put stuff back into reserves. It's like, you go where we need you. You know, we figure out where you'll need to be and you'll be there and you'll gum up the works.
Yeah.
And so basically that's what we played. First turn, the knights on the flanks, on the edges, go after our opponent's flanks. And the knight in the center comes after me. does manage to kill one of my Mauler Fiends, although it is give it their all is the rule we used from Apocalypse, so it didn't die until the end of my turn. We did manage to kill it on turn 1.
Yep.
So two things I should interject here is one, yes, that came up, and we designed the night stuff before we saw and added the Apocalypse stuff, so we got questions of, can we actually kill the Knights on round 1?
Yeah,
and I said,
we're not going to have the
But it was also about this time when TJ read is like, oh yeah, the Knight just self-destructs. There's no roll.
Yeah, they automatically deadly demise.
Candle, boom.
So when we see that thing coming in to our side, we're like, okay. Because also on the Knight's turn, you do not fight back.
No.
The Knight gets to fight, and then you go to the normal. So nobody gets an extra fight phase if something gets wonky.
And even if you're in melee with it, you fight it, it doesn't fight back. Right. Its fight phases earlier.
Right. So we look at it, it's like, it's coming in. I'm like, well, I can bring in like Vashtor and the Mauler Fiend and the Decimator, and I can kill this thing. And like, I can just charge into it and tear it apart. Because like, it's not going to get its invul and save. I've got enough stuff there that can just do some really nasty stuff. Like, Vashtor's all anti-vehicle stuff. Like, we've got this. And we managed to whittle it down quite a few points with shooting at first. And then Tauren, because the other thing you did is anybody who won their previous game got a sheet of stratagems. And I don't think they were all the same. Were there a couple of different sheets of stratagems?
No,
they were all the same.
The page was all the same. What we did was we took 6 stratagems we liked from the Apocalypse book.
Okay.
And put them onto here and said, if you win your third round, here's your benefit. Also, there was another benefit for those that were 0-3. Starting in battle round 2, you could take control of a knight for a turn. Mm-hmm. Both those people were on the other table.
It didn't impact our game. But so Tauren pulls me aside because at this point we're going second. And that first turn, basically the other side was focused on dealing with their knight.
Well, I'll say Alexander, he had a goal of he wanted his warlord to kill that knight.
Yeah.
So he even positioned like the command assist he got in front to bait the knight over.
Which it did.
Yeah. And then the command assist got obliterated.
He served his purpose.
He died.
The charge happened. His Pathfinders almost all went away. And he said, I'm going to fire my broadsides into it because I need to take that. I'm like, broadsides are deadly. You might kill it with that. He said, oh no, the broadsides have been doing terrible. They almost killed it. He had to elect to not do his rerolls on some of those.
To not risk killing it so the warlord could kill it.
So the warlord could kill it.
Yeah. So it killed that one. And I think the one that was facing up against Harlan didn't die first turn, but it did eventually die second turn.
Yeah. And I believe they did the same thing.
They did. Yeah. So what happened with us is so Tauren pulls me aside because he's got the sheet. He has access to these stratagems, and he's like, okay, because I'm like, I kind of want to kill this thing because Vashtor could kill it in melee and kill a Titanic. That'd give me a couple of warlord points, make up for what I didn't get game 3. But also, you had told us hey, for destruction, it's there's a 3-way tie, and it's these are so I knew I wasn't in the run.
That was part of the reason why we did that.
And so looking at that, I'm like, I don't want to be so greedy to go after a warlord point that's not going to help me actually get the thing.
Yeah.
So Tauren's like, I've got a strat for 2 CP. We're at 2 CP now. If I kill it, and he's got a whole bunch of flash gits in a battle wagon ready to unload on the thing. He's like, if I kill it, I can spend 2 CP and turn it into an objective. Nice. And I'm like, yeah, go for it.
Do it.
And he does.
Do it.
It explodes. But I said, but first off, Phil, move your Kroot just out of the way, out of the splash zone.
I mean, part of me is sad we did announce that to everyone because I would have loved to see splash damage everywhere.
Tauren moves his stuff out. My stuff is still in the splash zone because I'm like, Vashtor, the Mauler Fiend, the remaining Mauler Fiend. Well, actually, the Mauler Fiend's going to die at the end of my turn anyway, so it's fine. It doesn't matter. And the Decimator, they can take D6 mortal wound splash damage. I can heal it on my command next man phase. I'm fine.
I'm going to suggest this in a way that Rob can't hear.
But I have headphones on. I can hear you. You do
he
know
can't
that.
Hear me. He can't hear me because I've got my hand over my mouth. What we need to do next year is just tell people to when the knights explode to have us come over and we roll a die and then it just automatically explodes regardless of the die roll to keep the mystery.
Yeah. Well,
he didn't hear that.
So. I didn't hear it.
People were asking us mystery things too. We had a Necron portal and someone came over and was like, if I put my guys by this portal, is anything bad going to happen to them? I had to just shrug.
Maybe not. Depends on who you're shooting at.
Yeah, let's see what happens.
You told me to put it on the table.
I did
for that reason.
People.
Yeah.
So we end up with an objective in our area, and then Harlan did the same thing on his. So there are 2 extra objectives now on the table. Now this is where it gets important, is because as the defenders, we've got that one objective in our deployment zone. But if you control it, every objective that you also control outside of that one is worth an extra point.
Yep.
So now there's 2 extra objectives in play, one of which is straddling our deployment zone. So we proceed to hold off basically the entire Phil gets his stuff in and basically pins Harlan's army into the deployment zone. It does not break out until turn 4. He just keeps throwing rampagers at it. He throws crude at it just to unsticky their objectives, to give them something that is a distraction that they have to deal with. And Harlan's not really in a good position to shoot at anything from the angle because he's kind of played defensively. He's put his stuff behind terrain, but there's nothing for him to shoot at on that side. We've kind of denied that flank. We've kind of ignored it. And we're also throwing a few things at Alexander's stuff, but not a lot. We're kind of ignoring him too, because we also don't want to deal with his broadsides. We don't want to get in line of sight of the broadsides. He did, I moved up one of my Land Raider, and
you said you were going to taunt him with that.
I did taunt him, and I know, no, don't taunt happy fun Tau, but
where's the Land Raider?
It did die, but he reduced it to 1 because he got multiple dev wounds on it at d6 plus 1 damage each, which reduced it to 1, and then I think Josh killed it off with the Void Dragon. But he had the Nightbringer in Deep Strike Reserve again. So that turn 1, I'm just pushing stuff forward. Their turn 2, they kind of line up some stuff. The Doomsday Arc, Josh has his Doomsday Arc fire, but it doesn't end up doing a lot. He has really bad luck with that Doomsday Arc all game. And that has been a trend of his in past games I've played with him. The Doomsday Arcs massively underperform what they should do. So we've kind of got him pinned in, and we start taking objectives. And so turn 2, we score 3 objectives. Because we've got the objective that we're our defense objective, and that new one we've created. So it's 1, 2, 3. Mm-hmm. Turn 3, we are on all 3 of the
No Man's Land
objectives and the new objective, so we score 9 points in turn 3.
I was wondering how you guys wound up winning so
I was watching it.
We kept control of No Man's Land, and when we started losing a little bit of No Man's Land on one side because they started pushing in Alex and is primarily Alex and Alexander, the 2 Alexes, pushing in on the objective on what would have been our left. Mm-hmm. That's when we bring in, Phil brings in Kroot and Rampagers onto their, because they have moved off their objective because Harlan stickied it with his Cadians. He can move off of it. Yep. We unsticky it. We claim it so that on turn 3, on the next turn, we will score it again.
Nice.
They only score 2 points on round 4.
Wow. Okay.
We they start pushing in on other objectives. Okay, you got a couple of objectives. We'll let you have them because we've got so much else. We're holding things back. I also got to play around. We used the surgical deep strike rules from Crusade Nachmund, which are one of our favorite additions of the game. And I'm very fortunate that Doomsday Arcs are ridiculously long because Josh had taken the Necron support character, so he had it behind the Doomsday Arc, not behind short ways, behind long ways. So I'm and my support character was Azrak the Annihilator. The special Terminator, Khorne Terminator Lord they released a few years ago. And I'm he's got an anti-vehicle chain fist. And that thing's really long, so I could surgically deep strike within a few inches of it and only still be within 9 inches of a single model. So I do, and I successfully deep strike and then proceed to charge it and tie it up for like several for like 2 or 3 rounds until Torin kills it with flash get fire.
Nice.
And like the Void Dragon, we do eventually take down. It actually didn't do that much in the game. He didn't have a lot of luck with the Void Dragon. We took the Void Dragon down. That's when, after that, Josh drops down the Nightbringer. The Nightbringer survives until the end of the game, and nothing can kill it, and it annihilates everything it touches. But we manage to keep it pinned in the middle of the table, but away from objectives, so at no point does it contest any objectives. So sacrificial plays, hoping to kill it off, but if it doesn't, it stays pinned in place, and we don't have to deal with it. TJ does a deal with Alexander so their warlords can get into each other's deployment zones with no shots fired, no attack assaults made, and they both honor it, so they both can get those points. TJ's manages to, when Harlan starts to break out, TJ pushes off his like the Rogaldorns both ended up at 3 wounds remaining on their turn 5, or at least on their turn 4, I think, and then TJ kills the nearest one and then moves on to like their new objective. And by the end of the game, it's like 28-29 in our favor. And I said the MVP was Phil because Phil kept the guard tied down. He also used another unit of Rampagers to tie up Alexander's Tau, kill his stealth suit so he couldn't use them as spotters.
He was also taunting.
It was definitely Tau on Tau violence, but like Alex got eliminated first from like having any models, but we had the right things at the right places that we needed. And we just managed to hold a solid defense to the point where when they could break out, it didn't move the needle any. Nice. And so like I feel like we did a very solid like job of strategizing between the 4 of us, making sure we had the right strengths, the right places, making the right strategic calls, and they gave as good as they got. I was tabled by the end. I had the Chaos Decimator left. Did
it die and come back?
No, it never died. So I still don't know if that actually works or not. TJ still had a couple of his, like the Nightbringer killed all of his dreads on one side, but he still had a couple of dreads on the side that Harlan was on. So like he was still in it.
Torin was pretty hurt.
Torin lost his beast snagas and the kill rig, but his battle wagon with flash kits never got touched. His grots never got touched.
Oh wow!
And the beast snagas actually survived a round of combat with the Nightbringer, and he was not able to kill them all with one round of attack. So again, it's just like with the Nightbringer, it was just let's just keep it busy.
Yeah,
keep it busy, keep it from being able to push forward into our lines. Well. And so, the entire game was a big holding action, and we succeeded. So
as for the other one, I didn't pay full attention to the level of detail you had, but at the high level, it was pretty much Space Marines versus Chaos. Yeah, is what it and a Necron.
Yeah,
because it was Emperor's Children, Thousand Suns, Necrons, and
Death Guard.
Yes,
because I saw some blood drones.
Yeah,
so they had like both knights there. Matthew, the Black Templar player, he said his goal was to get all 3 things that he needed.
Spoilers, he got it.
He was already leading, and if he got all 3 of them, there would be no chance for anyone to catch up. So I'll say it's sort of like Alexander did, taunted the knight to get the knight come to him, and the Crusade squad led by his marshal,
Marshall Mathers, by the way.
Marshall Mathers, yes.
just to make sure we get out.
Took it out handily. The other one was taken out pretty well by like the Dark Angels and Blood Angels working together.
The Chitin lasted a while.
The Chitin, its thing was on turn 2. It got sent away. Well, aka
because they were able to control it for a round. So someone ran it away and then someone ran it back.
Yeah, the defender said, "I need to move it away." So because we said he would get priority.
Yeah.
So the protection attacker said, "Yeah, we don't want to kill it because next turn we want to take control and shoot at them with it." So a little bit there, but the knights that were supposed to be kind of big threats just were speed bumps, which in the end was probably a good thing. I think they fit more as a turn 1 speed bump, turn 2 just be there, and then the game can go between the 2 groups.
It's a fun distraction. It's a fun element to have, and it kept things on the table longer. So yeah, I think it worked exactly the way I expected to. I was a little bit surprised they died as quickly as they did.
That was my point there.
Yeah, but they worked.
Some of the people, especially since we had no Titans, and if they were going for Warlord points, you wanted to get that dead by your Warlord fast.
There was a lot of focus on it for that. Cause I need to kill it because if I can kill it, I can get.
Because if I don't kill it, one of the other guys might kill it.
So. Well, and I know with like TJ, he was not in a position to kill because they got kited into the other two squad, and then one came for me, and TJ didn't have anything nearby to deal
close.
With it. Yeah.
But also, the Necron player dropped both shards in that game as well. Nightbringer did not fare as well in this one. This guy named Dante and the Lion kind of teamed up on him and took him out.
I imagine it was more like Dante was the hype man and the Lion was the one who actually got the work done. I mean, the Axe Mortalis is no slouch, don't get me wrong, but the Lion?
Yeah, and the Lion was kind of also then forest walked from there, killed off Daniel's Warlord, which was Demon Prince, and then there's two more Demon Princes, proceeded to next 2 turns kill one of them, and then the third one,
that is on brand for the Lion.
You just bounce around killing.
No shade. That is exactly what Lionel Johnson would be doing.
And the brick of the Black Templars just kept on driving down. Anything it got close to just went away.
Yeah.
The Chaos side had no answers for it. They tried to throw bodies at it. There were some flayed ones early on that were going up the middle that got decimated. Mm-hmm. He said in retrospect, I probably should have held them back and have them be a counterattack thing instead of sending them up front. But they get some things. But because of that, protection has been like just pushing and pushing. But I'm going to say that was probably halfway by design. Turns 2 and 3, the Chaos started deep striking things in. They had a lot held back in reserves. Yep. All the Emperor's Children Terminators, actually real Terminators.
Yeah.
And then the, Deathwing Terminators also came in to counter that, but that's another, I'll get there. And both shards. So it was like Chaos just finally said, we're here. And they dropped more in the back, which kind of then encircled protection.
Yeah.
But protection was able to kind of fight backwards. But as they did that opened up the middle more. So there was one bloody battle of Terminators with, I guess is the bloat drone is the big weird looking thing. Okay. And along with a Demon Prince, and then all the Sanguinary Guard came in and Deathwing Terminators came in.
Just a massive scrum of everybody into everybody.
This was a massive scrum, and it's also one of the reasons why things took a while.
Yeah.
And it was also in the Defender's deployment zone.
Yeah.
Oof. I mean, that's how far back they got.
Yeah.
Another fun story of revenge, though. After the Lion killed Daniel's Demon Prince, he shenaniganed his one tiny little sorcerer guy, who then Zorded the Lion for 8 mortal wounds. So, did not kill the Lion, but definitely made him mad.
Made him think twice.
Something else we haven't talked about for this one was the warp anomalies.
Yep.
Yes.
Because this time there were 3 at the beginning of each battle round.
Yes.
Which I heard that it was almost to 2. We were almost to the point where it would have been 2 every turn.
Yes.
Yep. But it was interesting because with 3, and then also something else in the missions, if you're on an objective, you roll a d6. Every unit on an objective of your objective on your turn in the command phase, you roll d6. On a 4-up, they get a warp token, which means the warp anomalies may start affecting them.
Yes.
Yep. And that, like, between that and rolling like 10s and 11s a little bit early, a lot of people ended up with warp tokens on them. And early on, we were mostly getting the good stuff, like maybe
plus
you might
move,
plus move, or move through move and move through terrain, or re-roll hits. But you might get something like -1 toughness. Well, depending on where you are and that's not that big a thing. Like I know. Harlan's Cadians on one flank got -1 toughness. Like, toughness 2 Cadians, but there's nobody there to shoot at him, so it's not a big deal. But like, I know Alexander had, like, when we were doing the put warp tokens on things, because we'd mostly been getting good ones. I think he kind of figured,
it's fine.
It's fine. Yeah. So like, he ended up with warp tokens on his broadsides and his like 1 unit of crisis suits, and then on like the next turn. What warp anomaly comes up? starting with the attacker, and you ruled that it was each player on each side could pick one.
Mm-hmm.
So you 4 units on each side were going to be picked. Starting with the attacker, pick a unit with 1 or more warp tokens. That unit cannot shoot. So it turns out if you tell crisis suits and broadsides that they can't shoot, they don't do much.
I'm going to reference a probably decade-old thing that we used to do on the show. Chaos is fickle.
It absolutely is.
Because we had the old warp storm table for the demons.
No, Chaos is still fickle.
Still just as fickle.
Yep. I will have to say next year, if we do warp table again, I will do better because I also realize when
just in general.
I'll have to do better in general. Yes, but as I was stripping away because they have a full paragraph on each one of these, and I'm like, I just want a one-liner.
Well, honestly though, that it affected us too. Like units that we had got picked too, but it's just like his units weren't on it. I think one of them, like the Crisis Suit squad, was on an objective at one point. So that's how it picked up one, but the broadsides got assigned one elsewhere. And I can't remember if it was Alexander put one on there or if one of us put one on there.
And where I'm going with that is in actual thing, I think they also say you're supposed to pick your own stuff for that.
Okay.
Which would make a big difference in all of that.
Yeah.
And then part 2, when you actually play Armageddon Crusade, there is no roll for up on objective to get one. That's what we put in there ourselves
to generate
to
more.
make people start having warp counters. Because otherwise the warp anomalies do nothing.
Right. No, I honestly, I think
it worked out.
It worked fine. In some cases, like when you got move through terrain, that was really advantageous.
Oh, yeah.
Like that worked.
High numbers are good. I even heard a story that
we had a 17 come across,
nice.
or 16 or 17. So re-roll hits, things like that.
Well, and TJ one game, he said he got an 18. I guess it was round 3.
So
healed a dreadnought to full.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Well, it's a D6, but it was
that's awesome. Yeah.
So no, I think they were fine, and honestly, I didn't mind the turning off somebody's shooting because it made it feel like
you were fighting Tau. Of course you didn't mind turning off their shooting.
Well, no, but even but that happened to me in my game with Josh. Also, he was able to turn off one of my units from shooting, which did hurt me somewhat. But I was able to pick one of his units. So these Locust Destroyers can't shoot for a turn.
Yeah. So it balances out.
Yeah. So I don't feel like it's as bad. And if it's pick your own unit.
You're always picking the least amount.
I'll pick a Mauler Fiend. Yeah. Oh, it can't shoot. Doesn't have guns.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So, he could pick Scorpeg Destroyers. It's I can't shoot. Yeah. Right. So I think it makes more sense to make your opponent allow your opponent to pick.
Yeah.
So I think that honestly, I will say from my feedback, I would leave it as is. Do the feedback survey that you're going to do. But my argument, I'll just let you know now. I think it's fine because especially it is. Starting with the attacker, each player picks one, so it's fair.
Yep.
It felt fair.
But I'll say going on their game, it just was back and forth. It also took, I know you guys finished and they were still on bottom of 3.
Because not a lot of people had either a lot of units or if they did have bodies. I think Phil was the only one who had lots of bodies on the board who was actively moving them around and doing stuff. Yeah. Harlan's were basically just camping on objectives.
Yeah. So, like I said, they had a lot of movement, a lot of bricks of things, a lot of melee, or like I said, the mass melee that had 4 players involved in it.
That's going to have a lot of attacks thrown, lots to say. It's going to be a lot, yeah.
But so that I told them after 4, guys, wrap up on this battle round, either finish it or talk through 5. So that's what they did, and I think we ended up calling it a tie based on just how it was, and they calculated the points and they talked through they said, we probably, if we did 5, we think Destruction would probably win on points, but we could call it 4 and call it a tie.
It was pretty close, basically.
Yeah. Of which I'll throw in this aside, as Kevin and I were leaving the venue, all 8 of them were still outside talking, and as we said bye to them.
It sounded like having a great,
and they said, "Oh yeah, if you guys want to spin up another game, we'll play another game right here." I'm like, "No, we gotta go home." So yes, they were excited and apparently did enjoy that massive.
So even though it dragged on and it was a nasty scrum, if both groups came away happy and just having a great, then you've done your job.
The overall idea for why we're doing the escalating games and the team game there is to try to give a variety of experiences. So starting off with quicker, lighter, faster combat, bigger things, kind of give it a sense of momentum, and then have have the big finale be a thing that like is big and epic, but also not super overwhelming, because if we're like 2,000 points per 4 people, we would never get it done in time.
No, that like 8,000
so-
points aside would be.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone's used to 2,000 point army, but when you've got 8 players with 2,000 point armies,
So so we were trying to like ramp it up in a way that it's manageable and like gives people the ability to like modify their lists and change things and adapt. If a unit that you didn't like, say for example the Decimator, it died twice, rolled once, like, okay, I'm not going to take it the third game because it's dead, like it's failed its comeback roll, or something like that. Like that's a thing you can do. That's a choice you can make with your list. And I think that's fun. Like in the grand narrative, there's almost always a unit that overperforms in the first game, and then I end up taking it every other game after that because I'm like, well, it's doing well, so I'm gonna have to keep it in the list. So, it creates a lot of fun, and hopefully people are having a good time with it. And I think we had enough people come back from previous years that, like, I think we've got a good core group of people that understand what we're trying to do and are with it. So hopefully we can grow it from there and make the event bigger.
Yeah, and I know there were several other people. Like, there were at least a few people from my play group who were interested in coming, but because of one thing or another, either they have family stuff scheduled this weekend, or like one of our players who played last year is like had a kid just a couple months ago, and is
life happens.
Still trying to get him to sleep through the night. So it's like, I can't be at a convention for 2 days playing a game.
No, life happens. So I get it, but like I feel like we have people know what they're expecting when they show up, and like kind of know like what's going on, but like still have surprises for like the details, but know how the event's going to run. And I think this year was the smoothest we've had. Right?
Yeah.
Right. Like
I will say that, and I'll ask you this question, Rob. Were the missions surprises? Because we wanted to like surprise people with the types of missions we picked up.
I did not know what to expect. And I know in the past you've been like, taking missions from like I think last year was a lot of Nachman missions. And so like I recognized all of them, but I didn't know what one was coming next. But these missions, like the last missions had a lot of like, okay, if you're on this side, you're trying to do this. If you're on that side, like you'd have extra things for both your faction and for your fame and infamy tracks. And this one, I think having the Maelstrom style achievement track, much easier to follow,
so much better,
and streamlined the mission, gave you more time to do weird things on the missions themselves, and also instead of having the missions being very clearly protection is trying to do this, destruction is trying to do this, coded into the mission, leaving it as attacker defender was fine, because that also made it flexible. It didn't matter who, like, narratively you could but then also the way you communicated what the actual this kind of the secret objective, like this isn't what's written, but this is what we're telling you. Yeah. That, I think, making that narrative, and it reminded me of a little bit more clear version, but it's kind of like what we did at like the first Warhammer narrative, like Warhammer Open narratives in KC, where they'd come to us and like they'd give us these tokens that would give us what the objectives were, and wouldn't necessarily explain what it meant.
Yeah, but I want to be a little more clear on that.
Yours were clear, but at the same time, you weren't like, okay, so what you're trying to do is kill the warlord, and for every warlord kill, we're going to give you... It wasn't that crystal clear.
I agree. As to call myself out, I will say that during the briefing for the third mission, I did forget to tell what the mission was
holding the objective.
Yeah, I did forget to say
that's okay. When someone on your side told me that, I then went around and was telling every table, you got to do this. This is what you...
Maddie, I know I missed something.
Yeah. But, it's okay. So, we got it covered.
Yeah, but I like that felt like it was more of an immersive, especially because you were doing stuff in character.
Yeah. Yes.
That helped. Like, again, we had the feeling of, this is the War Master telling us this is what we're supposed to do, but not doing it in game terms, but doing it in narrative terms.
Yeah.
But that narrative thing, like, I would say the holding the middle one, you got more points if you held the objective in the middle. Like, so it was good for you in game to do it, but it wasn't the only way to score points.
No.
So you could choose to, like, I'm just going to stay in my objective and like hug the outside,
to get the
point, and you'd still get points.
You'd still win the game. You just might not get your faction thing.
Right. And like killing the warlord. Yeah, your warlords are up front and center, and you do kind of want your warlords to kill things because of the warlord track. but maybe you don't want to be that upfront with it. You know,
Yeah, I did.
Well, I mean, but like,
I
if you looked at the mission, though, like just reading the mission, your warlords are up front, but the mission doesn't give you anything for killing warlords. The mission just says hold objectives.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hold objectives at the end of the game.
Going after the warlord is explicitly a benefit just for you. Yeah.
Right. And and the first one's like run on, try to run off with supplies, not just hold supplies on the board, but actually run off with them. And that's what was important. And so, but the way you did it's like, you didn't have to go at everybody say like, okay, so if you want to score points for your team, you have to take the objectives and move them off the board. Or if you want to do points for your team, you have to slay the war. Like, which also made it reminded me of like the old days where it's like, hey, you get a victory point for slay the warlord. You get a victory. Yeah. Like it, not explicitly, but there was a little bit of that narrative throwback. And I know a lot of our players are newer players who do not remember those days. Yeah. But for us old heads, that is kind of a, that's kind of a nice throwback. So I felt, it felt good. Like the missions felt good. I never felt like looking at a mission. The only thing, the only reason like the null zone mission bothered me is like, man, my detachment's built around having a lot of invulnerable saves.
Yes, and I knew that going in, and also I knew.
But it could have been worse. I could have been a Chaos Demons player.
Yes,
like a full-on Chaos Demons player. And then I'd been like,
Daniel let me know his distaste for that mission too. He said narratively I like it, but
mechanically,
but my army can't hold the middle. Yeah. I'm not going to the middle. It's no. Which he did send the command assist up to the middle to get killed, but I just think that.
But it also made for interesting choices.
Yes.
And it, like, the reason I was able to kill some of those units in the game against Josh was because he didn't have an invulnerable save. So, like, it
plays both sides.
Yeah, it worked out. I did lose that game badly, but at the same time, it's like, it made me have to make, decide to make decisions that may not be good for me, but that I needed to do. So yeah, obviously you're taking these missions from books that have already been put together, but you're combining them in interesting ways. And the way you moved from one set of missions to the other set of missions felt narratively like you were narratively, you were setting the stage for there's weird warp anomalies going on, kind of keep an eye on this space. And then when we switch over to the Armageddon missions, they start manifesting and things get really weird and in cool ways. And then, that final battle was like, and also the fact you brought in a couple of the apocalypse rules, like the Fog of War.
Those were late additions after we had the apocalypse stuff come out.
We were trying to decide that because to that point, it was like when the APOC stuff came out, we're like, what can we do to make this feel like an APOC mission without it being explicitly an APOC rule, like that. And it's like, what can we add to make this more balanced, to make it more fun? Because, what I didn't want to have happen is, okay, it's 4v4, you have 1,000 points. Alexander is like the examples. He had all this Tau stuff. I don't want everybody to go, oh, his stuff is really good at shooting. Everybody shoot him off the board, and then the 7 of us will play a game. Right. And then he's just sitting there for 6 hours.
Right.
Like I wanted to make sure that like stuff like that didn't happen and that everyone is involved. So layering on some of those rules, which is why I love the APOC stuff.
Because they are just modular rules.
You can layer on like a rule here to be like, okay, this will protect from that, and this will balance some of that stuff out.
And the other half of that is we knew because of the mission, all of our knights were going to be tied up doing that. So we also needed something to give people who won game 3. And that's how we that's why we special APOC stratagems. That's a cool idea.
And it was one of those ideas as well where it's like, oh, I really like these strats. I don't want to make these available to everybody.
Yeah.
Because they were like, oh, everybody gets a pinpoint bombardment. Ooh, that's a nightmare. We don't want that. But like making it a thing where a few people have it, and it's a thing in your back pocket.
And it's a reward. It's the advantage for winning your game.
Exactly. So no, I think that worked out.
So, and I think that makes, even though like you're tracking multiple things, and we've had this discussion before, talking about like last year's, and also like talking with Chris Christopher about like how he does narratives and getting a little bit of the behind the curtain and the work you guys did on figuring out like what mission goes where and how do we do this and what's the balancing act here is good to hear. Like people who like play in narrative campaigns don't necessarily realize how much work can go into making sure even if it's something like simple, like what I do outside of like 500 worlds is a thing right now that we're playing. But before that, I was doing like White Dwarf missions, and I would go through and like pick out missions like this one's not going to be any fun for anybody, or this one's going to be a mess. People are going to have a lot of questions and I may not be there to answer them. But like, here are missions that tell the story I want to have, and have mechanics that people can get into and have fun with. And you guys are doing that, plus doing all the tracking of like the real objectives that you're trying to get. But also you still want people to be playing to win the games. So you giving them something like the character support characters, or giving them access to the extra stratagems, but not everybody. It worked out really nicely, and it did lead to interesting moments. Like Torrin leaning over to me, it's like, "Hey, I've got this," because I didn't know what objectives they had on those sheets. They didn't, or what stratagems they didn't. People weren't generally going, but he's like, "Hey, I've got this thing. I can make that an objective." That was one of the things that won us the game. Was having that extra. So those were good things to have.
I feel like this is the third year that we've done this now, right?
I think so.
Yeah, this is the third year.
I
feel like especially now. I feel like I've finally kind of hit our stride as like designing stuff where it's like it fits together more seamlessly than it did in previous years. And I think a big part of that as well is the amount of conversations we've had with like Chris and Rachel about how they do their narratives, and talking to other people that run events. Joe, who ran like the Texas Open. And seeing how other people do it and putting our own spin on it.
Well, and getting feedback from
players every year and all of that. Like, that really helps. Helps us kind of figure out what works and what works, what doesn't. Because some we've got some feedback that's like, that was complicated, or this didn't really fit. And I think we've kind of hopefully blended it all together in a way that it all
just in
better.
Time for an edition to change up how missions work.
To say is I am scared to death on how 11th edition will change things up.
We'll figure it out.
But I'm sure. I think our plan now is we'll see how the 11th narrative missions are. See if there's any campaign books that come out at the end of the year, January, and then that's probably when we'll try and spin, build, etc.
I'll be completely honest with everybody. For the next 3 weeks, until assuming everything's the way we think it's going to be, for the next 3 weeks until the launch edition drops, I'm like not touching anything 40K, like nothing.
Oh, I am. We're doing our crusade in Dallas.
No, like I'm not worried about it. I'm not looking at anything. I'm not going to read the previews.
I've got to see if my Emperor's Children can actually pull out a win finally.
I'm curious to see when they're going to if they're going to drop the rules until the set comes out. Or if they're going to drop because I know in the past, like, they actually dropped the rules document a little bit earlier than the release.
I could see them dropping the 11th core rules, like the 10-page PDF or whatever. I could see them dropping
it'll be a bigger PDF than that.
Whatever it is. But the core rules.
Yeah.
I could see them dropping that when the pre-orders go up.
Because by that point, all the faction focuses will be done. We've got 5 more to go, because we know, like, Imperial Agents is not getting one.
Yeah.
So I think our remaining are Eldari, Admech, Gene Stealer Cult is Monday. I know that. Necrons and Leagues of Votann are the 5 remaining.
The 2 I really want to see, Eldari and Leagues of Votann,
are the last week.
Dead last. And then I mean, I think they're going to announce the pre-order next week. That it's the week after, and then. Yeah,
because they said, like, when the pre-orders came out today, they're like, there are no pre-orders next week. It's almost even on their site, they're like, it's the calm before the storm, because they know it's going to be insane when everything points to me being correct that June 6th. Although I did get my dating wrong, like, pre-orders will end on the 20th, but that's also when it'll hit store shelves. So it'll be available a week earlier, although depending on how your store gets it and how it gets shipped to you and things like that, you might have
hopefully they figured out the logistics. We'll see.
I'm planning on, like, we are just about ready to finish up phase 2 of our 500 Worlds campaign. We may finish up playthrough phase 3 in June, because we won't have the new rules until like the middle of the month. Although I'll check with my players and see what we want to do. We will probably switch to trying out Dominatus, like the new deck, that, like, for July. And so that will give us our first feel of what is narrative play going to look like. I have mentioned this before. I want to see if there's going to be a guide on converting old missions, because obviously with the mission deck, the way it's built, they want you playing asymmetric missions, but I know there's also options in the deck for, like, Mirror World. You're both playing the same mission. So there is a possibility that they could say, hey, for narrative games, just build the scenario put buildings where the terrain marker, like where the objective markers are supposed to be, make those the objectives, and just play as normal and just skip the forced disposition portion. And that, or if nothing else, that maybe that's my unofficial rules. It's like if in some cases we may do this, and in some cases here's a special mission to do.
Yeah, and I mean, this may be a thing that we end up doing. We're doing this on the fly because we don't know all the stuff yet. But, just like we did with like the urban conquest stuff for 10th edition.
Yeah,
maybe we do some converting old missions for 11th.
Yeah, well, I'm already. I like once I get the rules in hand, especially once I get the mission decks in hand and kind of
that's
Dominatus.
This is all hypothetical.
Yeah, basically once June is over and I've had a chance to go through all the materials, I plan on starting to revamp our Urban Conquest update for 11th edition, which will actually bring it closer to the original Urban Conquest, because in an Urban Conquest, buildings were your objectives.
Absolutely.
So this kind of gets it back to that feel. Yeah. I will change up the missions to be like, hey, there's a building here that is the shield generator, and that's what you hold, and here are the power nodes that you have to hold. Functionally, it'll be very similar, but it will play into 11th's rules better. And at that point, maybe I do make it an asymmetric mission where, hey, attacker is doing this, defender is doing this. It'll be a more complex, like 2-page mission.
Sure.
But I think that's
fine.
Yeah.
That's what all of ours were. They were all like 2-page missions, and it was fine.
So I mean, I do like the White Dwarf missions where it's just like one sheet that's got everything you need for it. But I'm ready to I'm flexible. It doesn't have to be that, and it's a PDF document. I can set it up however we want it to be.
Exactly.
So yeah, I am excited for 11th edition's rules. I'm curious to see how it's going to play out with like mission design, and I know that definitely I can see why you're kind of nervous about it, Dennis, because it does upend everything, and it makes me wonder what narrative books or like campaign books will look like. They think that is going to be, like you said, that's going to be the acid test is what is the first campaign book, the first narrative
that's
book.
That's what we've normally pulled from for these.
So wrapping up the narrative, so destruction did win overall. Some warp shenanigans from the Necron happened, and
no, he just like locked the planet in stasis and is taking everybody with him.
Now the planet's in stasis, so we've got our jumping off point for next year. So we did have 3 awards that we were giving out. We had a hero for each faction. So Hero of Protection was Matthew Kressler and his Black Templars, because he ran away. He was very close on protection up until the end, and then he got everything on the final mission. And then Hero of Destruction was...
Before you say it, remember I said foreshadowing earlier?
Yes.
This was a tight one, and it was...
Daniel Ponce.
Yes, it was not TJ, who took it 2 years running.
2 years running.
Was going for the hat trick.
Yep.
How much did he miss it by?
1 point.
1 point.
Well, here's how close it was. Daniel had 22. TJ was at 18, and I believe Curtis was at 21. Those were our top 3. So TJ got the one he didn't have, so he bumped up 3 points.
To 21.
But that's still 1 point less than Daniel.
Yeah.
Daniel and Curtis both scored zeros. So had Curtis done anything,
he might have pulled it.
He might have pulled it out.
Mm-hmm.
But his Warlord got gacked early.
And that cuts out a lot of points.
And Daniel's Demon Prince was the one that he deep striked over there. Then the Lion came and found and gacked early. So,
and also because those were not one-on-one games, the last 3 things, their opponent's Warlord has been destroyed, you hold more objectives, and you reduce their army to less than half.
Couldn't use that.
They don't work in a 4v4 game, so it had to be Warlord based points.
Yep. Which is also why it made the Titan stuff so much more important, because you didn't have some of the other options.
Right.
But and then the final award went to Torin for Best Hobbyist.
Which that's 3 years running. Torin has a phenomenal look. His orc armies are always phenomenal. Yeah. Just always look great. Bright colors, fun conversions.
Yep. And his paint style is very comic booky.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's not something you see normally, all these grim, dark, realistic, or scruffed up
his
looks.
Kill rig was like Caradron Overlord's Arcanaut being pulled by screamers.
Yeah.
And then he's got like the weird boy like up at the top and like the little like sitting on top of like the little bubble and with like light, like actual sculpted like with wire lightning, green lightning coming out of it. It's like I voted for him in a heartbeat. It's just
Obviously we were doing that at the very end, and after the first game, he didn't clinch it after like the first 8 votes, but it was like we're like, okay, he's gonna win.
Yeah.
Well, I'll also say this: getting a few votes as well was the Tau army that Alexander was using.
That Torn painted.
That also Torn painted.
Yeah. So
I don't remember whose it was, but some weird Chaos Space Marine army did get a vote or two, but I don't know. I didn't count it. I didn't. I was like, whatever, those don't count.
Yeah.
I counted them.
Whoever could it have been?
Yeah, I don't know. So this year, what was really cool is that we had the prizes that we gave away. The big one was an articulated power fist.
Yes.
That I had printed. That was just badass. So it was full size Space Marine, like it fit all the way on your arm. It had like a thing where you could like tighten it down and stuff.
Yeah, and then you can grip
then
inside. I think we all tried it out.
Yeah, inside there's basically 5 different little things, so you could like move each finger individually, and you just do the pulley, and it's it had basically the finger joint where it's like it would close and open, and of course the very first thing that everybody did when they had it is flip each other off, which is the photo I have of Torrin after he won is him flipping us off. So that's going to get posted as far as like, hey, he won,
Yeah.
But really cool, really fun to put together. I'm glad that like we had cool prizes for that. So
yeah. So no, it's always Midwest Conquest. It's a lot of work. I know you guys put in a ton of work to make sure everything's together, and there's a lot of people involved. Getting even just the physical labor of getting all the unloading the storage unit, getting all the terrain and mats over, getting tables set up, the administration work of coordinating with the venue and getting that all done. It's like we cannot stress enough how much work goes into pulling off a multi-game event like this. Even just when it was a single 40K tournament, it was a lot for us. But I know there's talk of basically maybe renaming it from Midwest Conquest GT to just like the Midwest Conquest Convention, because it's a multi-game event now.
Yeah,
for sure.
At this point, there's a 40K GT, there's the 40K narrative. There is an Age of Sigmar 2-day event, which had 30 people in it. Which is awesome. There was a one-day bolt action event and a one-day
Warhammer the Old
World event. And they even said, like, and I hadn't gotten all the details, but Ethan, who ran it, was like, yeah, I think next year I'm probably going to do more of a narrative style thing, because apparently
it was a little sweaty. Or
I don't know. I didn't go into the detail. I'll ask him later. But yeah, but there's more events. And the great thing is, like, from a very selfish perspective, now that we actually have like 3 different game systems, and we have the Old World and Sigmar and 40K, if we can get them bigger, we can actually get to a point where we can like apply to GW for like prize support and more stuff.
Yeah.
So like that to me is kind of the goal. Like, if we can get to a point where GW actually recognizes our event and can give us support, that's huge.
So now, it's just like it's firmly established.
Yeah.
We've been doing this minus 1 year, like 10 years minus 1 year for COVID, but 10 years event going. Yeah. God, has it been that long? Yes, it has been that long.
Yep.
So, in fact, the first Midwest Conquest episode was episode like 127, I think. We're on 351.
The first big one, or
that was
Midwest
the first.
Zero?
That was the first.
Year 0 doesn't count.
Yeah, year 0.
I still counted in
year
my
0
mind.
when there were 4 players and
I
2
took
of them
second.
were you. Yeah.
I took second.
The
That's
amazing thing about that is
I took last.
that was I want to say that was at the 6th edition release weekend, because I remember sitting at Conquest, because that was the year that like George R. Martin was like at Conquest, like that. So it was a huge event, and I remember sitting there like reading through the book, because I think Pulp had a midnight release for the rules.
Yeah, I remember we were there,
and I was there, and
to
I was
pick up
reading
Dark Vengeance.
Yeah, and I was reading the because I think it was 6th. Yeah, and I was reading the rules at the convention, and
because that was 2015. Then we had 2016, and then 2017. 2017 we got 7th edition, then 19.
Yeah.
2019 was the last year, and I know we were all looking forward to like 8th edition.
Yeah, and then 2020 just
yeah,
we don't need to relitigate that.
Yeah,
but it's been fun. It's been a fun experience, and I think we're learning every year. We're trying to get it better every year, and I think we're hopefully making progress. So
I'd say so.
But if you do attend any of these events, please thank the staff that puts the event together, the judges, the organizers. Like, there's so much that goes into these things that you don't see when you show up to play. So show up, have fun, but also like say thanks to the people that are putting it together.
Yeah. I think that pretty much wraps up our coverage of the event. This is actually I think one thing is we are sitting in a venue that doesn't have to close right. We tend to rush out in about an hour or so. We've been going for 2.5 now, so.
Yeah. And I think this is the first time we've actually talked about the behind the scenes on the missions as we've gone through.
Yeah, rather than just going through like, well, I played this game and this game and this game. Yeah. Well, so yeah, we will be back in a couple of weeks. Hopefully with more information, more solid information on
Armageddon,
and 11th edition. And I don't know if we'll have anything in hand. Maybe we'll have a rules document to look at. We don't know. But until then, from all of us here at Preferred Enemies, I'm your host, Rob.
Kevin.
Dennis.
And Richard.
Good night, good gaming. And yeah, next year, come to Kansas City for the Midwest Conquest 2027.